I'd like to call the April 19, 2011 meeting of the Buncombe County Commission to order. And as always, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, Commissioner Holly Jones will do our invocation.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a particularly holy week for both our Jewish residents as they celebrate Passover, and for our members of our community that are Christian. This is Holy Week, so it's a very reflective time. And for all that would like to, if you would bow with me while I have a short prayer. Dear Lord of all seasons, we come to you today grateful for this season of new life. Your reminders of renewal and hope surround us, and we give thanks. We come before you today to celebrate, discern, and discuss issues in our community that impact our citizens and their lives. This board asks for your presence in these discussions as we listen, learn, and work to do our best for Buncombe County. We ask you to especially be present with our brothers and sisters across the state that are dealing with the weekend's disasters. Comfort those that have experienced tremendous loss and give them strength as they begin to rebuild. We ask your blessings on those traveling to give aid and assistance. It is times like these that we give thanks for each other in this community and remember what is really important in this precious life you've given to us. Be with those who protect us, heal us, serve us, all of your public servants who work for this county and our country. For all these prayers and those in our hearts unspoken, we ask your blessing in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by this board, it's the duty of every board member to avoid both actual and apparent conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member know of any conflict of interest on any matter that's coming before the board today?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So we will proceed. Okay. Some over here. Vice Chair Stanley is sick tonight. He will not be with us. Hope you keep him in your prayers. He's had a respiratory problem and has missed 2 meetings, and we miss him and send him our best and wishes to get better quickly. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda with the exception of moving the resolution on the Woodfin Downtown Corridor bond to new business? Is there a motion to adopt the remaining agenda? There's been a motion. Been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Jones. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the budget the agenda? Not yet. We got a long ways before we do the budget, don't we?
Wow.
We're waiting on a lot of people to put that one together. Is there a motion there's been a motion to adopt the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, we will proceed as we planned, and that includes adopting the remaining items on the consent agenda. Good news, we're going to hear about NC3C awards, and we have our award-winning and former president of the Clerk Association and many, many honors, Kathy Hughes, our clerk, to talk to us. Kathy?
It's just a pleasure to bring you good news. I like to have good things to tell you. It's always a pleasure to work with the team that I have. They're a great group of folks. Before I tell you what we won, let me tell you why we try to get awards. Of course, we like to win, but there's a bigger reason that we send our stuff off to be judged. We send out things locally to see how we judge ourselves against the local group. We send stuff off statewide and then nationally. And we really use this as a test. 2 reasons. One, to see what other people are doing, because if you submit awards, you get to see what others are doing. But then to compare ourselves with what other counties and cities and states are doing. And what we're finding is we're doing really good. So that's good. And when we stop winning, we'll know that we need to do something different. That is not the case at this time. We just sent off, we sent in 8 different pieces of our work, written work, design work, and video work, and won 8 times. So this is we'll put up a picture of the group, the PR team that does all the hard work. I took the picture, so I'm not in the picture, but that's the very talented group of people I have to work with. You'll notice everybody's got at least 1 award. Some people are holding 2 because we truly won 8 different awards in every category that we submitted, we won in.
That's great.
So that's good. We were competing against other counties and cities throughout the state of North Carolina. Pretty soon we'll compete against the nation, but right now this was just against the state. We won for, I'll just tell you a few of the ones. Christmas in July, you remember that campaign? That won first place award. We won for no smoking video, flu shot promotion, the library window wrap, and our green campaign. Lots of different things won, but we were just thrilled because it helps us know that not only do we enjoy what we do, our folks are passionate about what we do, but we're doing it right because we're winning and people are taking our ideas. So just love to bring you that news and to brag on the folks that work so hard every day to do this and are passionate about doing it.
Next year, Kathy, let one of us take the picture so you can do it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we are thrilled, and thank you so much for getting the word out. Next, we have Michelle's going to tell us about the Buncombe Green Awards, and Michelle with the Environmental Advisory Board. Good to see you. And
Good to see you.
tell us about how you make the awards and who's the winners this year, and then we'll help present the awards.
Okay. Well, my name is Michelle Pugliese. I'm the chair of the Buncombe County Environmental Advisory Board, and one of our tasks last year was to create a continuation of last year's Buncombe Green Award. And so we created what we hope to be an annual award called the Buncombe Environmental Leadership Award, BELLA. And we submitted notice to invite people to nominate anyone, both individual or business, who they felt was an excellent example of environmental leadership in Buncombe County. And so we are pleased to have selected both an individual and a business to receive this year's BELLA Awards for the first time. The business award is going to an organization who's a nonprofit organization with a mission of fighting poverty and giving job training to low-income youth. And then we have an individual award that's going to a person who has married the concept of basically recycling buildings and creative adaptive reuse for old abandoned buildings and turning them into thriving business parks. So I can announce who those winners are. The business award is Green Opportunities, and they are a nonprofit that was formed in 2007. And in that short time since they have been formed and become a nonprofit organization, they have recruited low-income youth from throughout Buncombe County and offer them job training and job training for climate change directives, and they have formed into an entity that can be hired to provide weatherization for businesses and residences around town. And the individual award is going to Jay Stewart, who has married the concept of environmental stewardship with economic development. And the 2 major factory buildings that he's been responsible for adapting is the old Burlington Industries building in Woodfin on Riverside Drive, and that's 400,000 square feet of unused space that now is home to 30 businesses. And the same thing with the old Drexel manufacturing building in Black Mountain. And that was abandoned in 2000 and now is home to multiple businesses, including the Pisgah Brewing Company. Stewart Realty and Investments has also been responsible for reclaiming a number of business spaces and residences in the River Arts District and revitalizing that area. And Jay has also served on the board for Habitat for Humanity and been instrumental in creating the Habitat Home Store, and as well as helping Highland Brewing Company enter into their space. So we are thrilled to have such great examples of environmental leadership in Buncombe County, and we're pleased to be presenting these awards today.
All right, let's have Green Opportunities first, and let's go down and let's present it and shake their hand. That's wonderful.
The crew down here. Chairman, how do you want us to get situated here?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, a little bit more about it, and then we'll come through and shake hands here. We got more cameras and politicians like them face to face. That's good.
So,
Tell us your name.
my name is Dwayne Barton. I'm the co-founder and co-director. And our desire was to bring sustainability to all parts of Asheville, no matter what the obstacles are, and to train individuals and to empower them to transform their own community in an environmental, sustainable way.
And I'm Dan Leroy. I'm the other co-founder and co-director of Green Opportunities. We're really about ensuring that all of the improvements that we're making in our community towards sustainability include and create benefits for all the people, including those that have barriers to employment. And so if we're restoring and renovating buildings to make them more energy efficient, creating greenways, we want to make sure that those environmental benefits extend to those communities that are often left behind, as well as the economic benefits of the jobs that come from those transformations that we make.
So I know you got some real great board members behind you as well. Thank you for that support that happens through your board as well. Triple bottom line, folks, here is your award, and it's my honor to be the first to shake your hand. And the first Bella Award. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your good work.
All right, thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great.
All right,
Let's
thanks.
give them a Buncombe County thank you. Okay, next up, Mr. Stewart. Go in the firing line. All right. This is a good line. Yes, good. You want to take
All right.
yeah, a couple words. Thank you so much.
Hi. Thank you. It's really an honor to be presented with this award. I didn't submit my name there, but I discovered that Elizabeth Teague of Black Mountain Planning and Zoning had submitted it, and I usually try and stay beneath the radar and out of the limelight, but I was honored to learn that I had received this. I've been blessed to live in Buncombe County since 1984, and during that time I have been involved in quite a few things. Actually, Elizabeth put together the list of accomplishments, and most of those that were on there. There is one of which I'm especially proud that two of my partners and I were involved in. We donated, that was not listed on there, but we donated the 6 acres that is home to Woodfin's Riverside Park. And that was part of the Burlington Industries property that we had acquired, and we thought it would be much better served as a park for the public good. And it does my heart good every time I drive by, and I almost invariably see a number of people walking or picnicking there. So, but I'm thankful to have been in Buncombe County for the past 27 years. And I think that it's entirely possible for developers to work in conjunction with good environmental stewardship and good county and city leadership. Thank you very much.
I think it's wonderful when you hear someone just off the cuff say exactly what you're just so proud to hear. And from the bottom of our hearts, the commissioners of Buncombe County and the citizens of Buncombe County, congratulations, and please accept this token.
How about that P.S. we gave land for the park, that one of the most used parks I've seen next to Woodfin, and they certainly ran with it. Commissioner Bailey, tell us, let's see, Commissioner Bailey, go ahead and tell us about Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I think Bill McGuire is here. I saw him.
McGuire is here. If you'll join me, Bill. Bill McGuire is the CEO of Child Abuse Prevention Services, and I would like to read this right there, and I would like to read this proclamation. Whereas the problem of child abuse and neglect affects many of Buncombe County's children and has reached epidemic proportions in North Carolina, with over 100,000 children reported abused or neglected last year. And whereas last year the Buncombe County Department of Social Services received over 4,287 reports of child abuse and neglect. And whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is the responsibility of all citizens. And whereas every child has a right to a safe, healthy, nurturing environment. And whereas community action is needed to help prevent child abuse so all children can have the opportunity to reach their potential. And whereas it is vital that we join forces with the Child Protection Team of Buncombe County and Child Abuse Prevention Services Incorporated to reach out to parents and children to prevent child abuse and neglect, and to strengthen families and children who have experienced abuse. Now therefore it be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Buncombe that the month of April 2011 be proclaimed Child Abuse Prevention Month, and that this board does hereby call upon every citizen to join the child protection organizations, groups, and individuals in observance of the month with appropriate programs and activities, that this proclamation be effective upon its adoption on this day, and I move adoption of this proclamation, Mr. Chairman.
I second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Bailey, a second by Commissioner Peterson. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0.
And I'm delighted to present this proclamation to Bill McGuire. And again, thank you for the great work you're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner Bailey, Chairman, Commissioners. Also with me is Tammy Shook from DSS, who's also representing the Child Protection Team of Buncombe County. We really appreciate your support, always. The numbers are staggering. Commissioner Bailey read 100,000 North Carolina, 5 million reports across the country, abuse and neglect. And the numbers are just staggering. But a lot of good things are happening. And child abuse is a preventable tragedy in many ways. And that's why we need to have prevention programs, personal safety programs, crisis intervention counseling. All the good folks at DSS, Mandy Stone, Angie Pittman back there somewhere, Tammy Shook, the Child Protection Team, all the good things. I'd like to give you all each a blue ribbon, too. The blue ribbon came about when a grandmother in Virginia tied a blue ribbon on her car antenna after her grandson was fatally physically abused. And she wanted to send a signal to her community that we have to do something. We have to protect children. We have to prevent child abuse. And now, as a result of that one woman's actions, there are hundreds of thousands of blue ribbons across the country every April. Also like to invite you all out to Blue Ribbon Night at the Tourist Friday, and then on April 30th, Pause for Kids. We're partnering with the Asheville Humane Society to walk together to protect children and animals, and Child Protection Team will be out there with us too. And I know Tommy wants to tell you all a couple of things too.
On behalf of the Buncombe County Child Protection Team, I just wanted to thank the commissioners again for your support, and wanted to bring a few things for you. Our theme this year is Pinwheels for Protection. When you see a pinwheel, normally you think about a happy childhood, and that's what we feel like the children of Buncombe County deserve. Unfortunately, if you've heard any news today, you know that a child in Buncombe County died, and the preliminary indication is from the result of abuse. So I brought this to give to you guys, and some Pinwheels for Protection lapel pins. And again, just wanted to thank you from the Buncombe County Community Child Protection Team for all you do for the protection of children. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's heartbreaking.
If I could say just one more thing on a
Yes, sir,
personal
Bill.
note, Ray Bailey is so tied into our organization and so helpful. It was my good fortune to meet Mrs. Bailey, Glenda Bailey, the first day I was on the job, the first day I was in Asheville, and I thought she'd be a great board member and could really be a catalyst to reorganize our agency, and that's exactly what happened. And she's kind of the mother of child abuse prevention services. Thank you all again very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do, Bill. We also have a proclamation for Older Americans Month.
Yes, Chairman Gant, this is Older Americans Month, and I'm married to one of them. And but I will make a motion for this proclamation to be adopted, but we'll maybe just, if it's okay, just pass on the reading. I know it's going to be presented in a more formal time at a banquet. So I would move that we adopt this proclamation of Older Americans Month today.
Second.
Been a motion by Commissioner Jones, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the Older Americans Month proclamation say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The proclamation is adopted 4-0. Next, we have Social Worker Appreciation Month, and we have Angie Pittman and Commissioner Peterson.
I love this. This is everybody has this family connection. So Ray's wife is the mother of all people against child abuse. Holly's husband is a handsome young man. My mother was a director of social services. Well, she was a supervisor in the social services department here in Buncombe County, and retired there years ago. And at that point in time, the folks who worked in the welfare department worked 5.5 days. Now I remember she and my father both went to work on Saturday morning. Daddy worked with Buncombe County Board of Education, and Mother worked with social services, and I thought everybody worked in the county worked 5.5 days. So that's my family connection with Social Work Appreciation Month, and it's my honor. It really is my honor. County of Buncombe Proclamation of Social Worker Appreciation Month, May 2011. Whereas social work provides a significant role in the system of services aimed at protecting children, the frail elderly, and other dependent adults from neglect, abuse, and exploitation. And whereas social work honors the right of each person to have a life of dignity based on a sense of self-worth, self-determination, and personal responsibility. And whereas the social workers in Buncombe County are a major force for positive community change, recognizing the strength of individuals, families, and communities, and that empowering people requires knowledge of their capabilities. And whereas social workers in collaboration and through integrative efforts with public health and mental health professionals work to make Buncombe County a nurturing, supportive, healthy environment for its children, families, adults, and communities. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value of social workers by designating Social Worker Appreciation Month. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows, that this board does hereby proclaim the month of May as Social Worker Appreciation Month in Buncombe County. That all citizens take this opportunity to thank Buncombe County social workers for the outstanding job they do every day. That this proclamation be effective upon its adoption. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the proclamation.
Been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a tie for the second. There's been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, the second by, I'll call Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you to Commissioner Peterson, to this board, chairman, and county manager. Just want to talk a few brief moments about the social work staff at DSS and share with you a few of the things that we've implemented to make sure that our staff have the resources that they need to provide this vital core community function. You heard from Tammy Shook earlier we deal with very serious situations in our community as well as with law enforcement. And you know that Child Protective Services are mandated by law and are core to the mission of DSS. Many times our staff enter emotionally charged situations, especially when they just begin working with families. And in Buncombe County, we're very careful to balance the rights of families and their right to privacy with making sure that we intervene when we have to provide services to children who aren't safe. So we've really focused our efforts towards ensuring safety, permanence, and well-being in Buncombe County. And I want to, Tammy's going to help me with this, talk just a little bit about what that looks like. In these very stressful economic times, you can imagine that families have fewer and fewer resources on which they can lean. And although we know that neglect and abuse cases cross all socioeconomic boundaries, there are additional stressors when you can't pay your electric bill, when you don't have funds for child care, when you've lost your job. And any of these stressors can be a tipping point for whether or not a child can remain safely in their home. Tammy's going to give you a snapshot of what a day in the life of a social worker looks like, and is also going to talk with you about one intervention that that we've put in place to keep our staff strong.
Thank you again, Commissioners. Basically, when a social worker comes to work every morning in Buncombe County, they really don't know what they're probably going to walk into. Just some recent examples of things that social workers met on their desk and had to respond to. A severely burned child, burned intentionally by their caretaker. Another worker listened to a child disclose sexual abuse by her mother, and then sexual exploitation by her mother. Every day, every social worker is talking with families in crisis, families who are hopeless and helpless, and it's that social worker's job to listen to their stories and to provide them with a ray of hope. Given that that's the environment that they work in every day, it's not surprising that social workers encounter what's called secondary trauma. You may have also had it referred to as compassion fatigue or the price of caring. We noticed that that was impacting our social workers. We noticed that it was negatively impacting morale and even turnover and retention. And so Buncombe County DSS, to address the secondary trauma, contracted with Dr. Sherry Baldwin, a local psychologist in our community, who is working with their staff to try to reduce that secondary trauma. And she meets with staff individually, she meets with staff as groups, and she's working to develop a peer-to-peer support group so that staff can lean on each other when they experience this kinds of trauma. By offering this support, we believe that Buncombe County DSS is retaining and giving support to our very highly qualified professional staff. And so in that aspect, we are supporting our staff in the very difficult job they do each and every day.
Dr. Baldwin also works with EMS and the Sheriff's Department, so on some of those shared cases, we're looking at how can we partner and help them work through that together. We also have some other, Tammy mentioned recruitment and retention of staff, and that's one of the things, particularly in child welfare, that's a huge issue nationwide. It's very important to get folks in to do the job that understand the need to balance family-inclusive partnerships with safety. We have been very fortunate in Buncombe County to retain and recruit very qualified, tenured social work staff who are highly skilled in what they do. We have implemented a number of things in order to do that. We have a structured job interview that includes an actual realistic job preview video that follows social workers out into the field, as well as a case study. We were able to work with Human Resources and the state to do an ongoing recruitment process that allows us to fill positions within about 30 days. We have access to technical training, and we adhere to the 1-to-5 supervisor to staff ratio, which is required, which makes sure that staff have that support when they're making decisions. So through these very intentional steps, we have significantly reduced turnover. And this fiscal year, we have retained 91% of our social work staff, compared to 2008 when we were at 79%. That's a very, in my eyes, a very significant increase. And when our social workers go out to meet with citizens, you can tell the difference in that training by the way they interact with families. An additional way that we support our staff is through real-time access to information in our electronic case management system. Thanks to the vision of the county manager as well as the DSS director, Buncombe County is now paperless, and all of our documents pertaining to a family is in the record. So this allows social workers and supervisors and administrators 24/7 access. So if I'm at home at 3 in the morning, or if a social worker's in their car or sitting in the office, we can all access the same information, which helps us make decisions that impact child safety. So with all of these things, and many, many more things that we don't have time to talk about here today, these things directly impact our ability to maintain a qualified workforce that are prepared to address the increasingly complex challenges of families with whom we're involved, thus moving Buncombe County towards a more safe, healthy, and thriving community. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you for all you do. Wonderful. We really have a great staff. Thank you. I've been on all sides of that one in my life as a lawyer, and I know that's hard when the emotions are high and the stakes are high. So thank you. I got a good idea about that. Next up, we have Debbie Trumpy to talk about our first public hearing, which will be on Chapter 78, Section 6, changes to the zoning ordinance that involve asphalt plants. Deb?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance regarding asphalt plants are to allow them conditionally in the employment district, and also to set conditional standards that must be met in order to receive a conditional use permit. The planning board reviewed asphalt plants for over about a 4-month period. They also asked the Environmental Advisory Board to review some proposed language. They consulted with air quality, really looked at where the most appropriate places would be for asphalt plants and what type standards needed to be put in place to protect the citizens. The requirements include a half-mile setback from vulnerable populations, and we've enumerated those, but there's many, and examples are from hospitals, nursing homes, family care homes, child care centers, schools, and parks and recreation. It also requires that the facility be located outside the 100-year floodplain, production facilities, and all hazardous materials. It would require that the operations be at least 100 feet from streams and wetlands, that the facility would be on public water or meet North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources minimum distance for separation from drinking water wells. It would require adequate access to major highway, and it does have buffering standards. Those are to buffer visual impact, and also to maximize noise and particulate matter buffering. It would require a 6-foot security fence. It would also require the use of best available systems to achieve the greatest air and odor emissions reductions, and would also have a review for operating hours, signs, and lighting for their impact on surrounding properties. The Planning Board held a public hearing March 7th of this year. There were 2 speakers at that hearing, and the Planning Board found that the proposed ordinance is consistent with the land use plan, in that the employment district is primarily intended to provide appropriately located sites for employment concentrations for primarily for office-type uses, industrial uses, storage, and warehousing. In the setting of conditional use standards, provide an opportunity to mitigate possible nuisances associated with this industrial use. The Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval of this amendment. You have any questions at this point?
Questions from the board? I'll tell you the way I'd recommend we do it. Let's take questions from the board first. Let's have public comment and then take a motion and vote after that, if that's all right with folks. Okay, any questions from the board right now to?
Yeah, I just have a few. I mean, I think this is, y'all obviously done your homework on a lot of different levels, and a lot of my concerns have been, are seemingly addressed in some of the standards that have y'all put forth. So I guess my question is, but I don't pretend to be an expert in asphalt plant, planning, but so in terms of coming up with your standards, could you tell me a little bit about the due diligence that you went through to determine setbacks and all of the, the very prudent?
As far as the setbacks go, what we did was we used GIS to, first we located hospitals, nursing homes, all those types of populations that we wanted to have setbacks from, and then we just used GIS to see, how much does a quarter mile go out, half mile, a mile, and see what amount of land was basically available with those various buffers. That's how we arrived at the half mile. It still leaves employment areas that would be available, and it also has those protections in the open use area. We looked at quite a few other nuisance type ordinances, and the half mile is large and wider than a lot of those. A lot of them were just 1,000 feet or a quarter of a mile.
Right. How about the, let's see, that was about the setback. So I don't have one in particular. I guess is where I'm going with this, is just to kind of get a sense of, are there best practices for, where, if an asphalt plant is located someplace, here are kind of the best practices for.
Well, we tried to include what most other people were working on. There's not specifically best practices, but talked to a lot of folks in Diener and air quality, what the concerns are. For instance, the setback 100 feet from streams and wetlands.
Right.
If you should have an accidental or an intentional spill, that was seen as the minimum, and because these also go to the Board of Adjustment for a conditional use permit, the Board of Adjustment has the ability to put higher requirements than this. This is the minimum, but
Okay.
It was seen as the minimum to protect the streams and wetlands would be 100 feet.
That's really helpful. So it wouldn't be possible to go, the Board of Adjustment could not grant a variance less than these minimums.
That's correct.
They would have, but they could say, in this particular case, we need you to do more. So last question for me. In terms of, because prior to these being considered tonight, there was a conditional use for open use. So are all these standards new, or did we have other standards that got deleted, or how did that all work?
These are all new. We do not have any specific standards for the asphalt plants in the ordinance at this time. So this
Okay.
was an opportunity the planning board saw to
That's great.
put these standards
Really,
in.
really important. Okay. Those are my questions.
My question is about the state-of-the-art techniques and systems that you talked about. Who determines that, and how do we know what's?
Air quality will determine that. What they do is an asphalt plant would have to get a permit from air quality, and they require zoning approval before they issue their permit. So we would relate to them when they say, do they have zoning approval? We will relate, yes, it is approved by the Board of Adjustment conditionally, and one of those conditions is that they use best available practices. And the EPA actually has a site that you can go to for specific types of uses that says what those are.
Okay.
I think it's important for folks to know that this was a request that we made of the planning department, the planning board, to come back with these recommendations. And I think that, it's a unanimous vote by them. And my question is regarding the two folks who spoke at the public hearing. Can you tell me what their...
Yes, I did write a note down. One did think that the minimum distance for between a facility and a groundwater well should be at least 500 feet. Right now, it is set as just the minimum standard by DENR. If it's an individual well, their minimum standard would be 100 feet. If it was a community well, it would be 500 feet. And then the other speaker wanted us to add a definition for what a production area is, and also in measuring the setbacks from vulnerable populations, we have that it would be from the lot line, and the request was that that measurement start at the facility itself rather than at the parcel.
Thank you.
Edge.
I have a few. The setbacks, I see that it covers certain areas that are hospitals, daycare, elementary schools, parks. Does it cover residences?
No, we looked at that on GIS, and basically if we had setbacks from residences, it would have eliminated any place in the virtually any place in the county for an asphalt plant.
So just regular homes, there's no setbacks at all in this proposal?
There is not.
Is there any setbacks for facilities like bed and breakfast facilities and anything other than is listed here?
No, we really stuck with the vulnerable populations. We felt that it would be unfair to pick one commercial interest over another to try to set those for.
So the only, again, just to make sure I've got it straight, the only setbacks are for the hospital, hospice, nursing home, adult care, family care, child care, schools, county, and city parks. And that's it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I think you covered the other one one of the other ones I was concerned about. It's only 100 feet from somebody's well. If
From
it's
an
an individual's
individual
well.
is the minimum that DENR would require. Again, the Board of Adjustment could require a larger distance than that. Their job is to take testimony from the applicant and then anyone else who wants to present evidence. So if someone was able to present evidence that showed it needed to be further than that, then they could certainly require that.
But that's up to that board.
It is up to that
And the
board.
only minimum that we're setting out, which is our role in all this, is the guidelines that create the floor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question is and again, I think you've covered this to some degree. What control of the air and the odor do we have, and what, if any, control does the regional air agency have?
The regional air agency would be the ones that would issue that air quality permit. They would review the type of facility. It's required that the particulate matter and pollutants do not leave the parcel boundary that the facility is located on. Odor is something that will go beyond those limits, and that's why the planning board wanted to put in the best available requirements, best available system for reducing those odor impacts.
Okay, because my recollection is when we passed the employment district, one of the qualifications was that the uses, only those manufacturing uses to be allowed do not involve obnoxious noise, vibration, smoke, gas, fumes, odor, dust, fire hazards, or other objectionable conditions that would be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. We didn't change that part, did we?
That is not changed. That is in the district intent statement.
So when the Board of Adjustment, if we pass this and it made these eligible in another zoning district, this would be the guideline that the Board of Adjustment, one of the guidelines the Board of Adjustment would look at to decide if it was appropriate to grant the conditional use.
That's correct.
Okay, I believe that's the questions I had. Any
you.
more?
Yeah, I need to play out a follow-up scenario. So how would something get to the board? I mean, I'm just thinking if a citizen had an issue with, how would they get to the Board of Adjustment? Because the general,
Well, someone who wanted to develop an asphalt plant would make applications.
they would start at the Board of Adjustment. That's where
They
they would
would,
start.
they would apply to the
Planning
planning
department.
department. And as part of our public notification, we would run a legal ad. We are required by statute to notify adjoining property owners, but we make it a policy to notify all property owners within 1,000 feet of that property. And then we also post signs on the property about the hearing. So anyone who wishes to come to that hearing can come and speak. We do
But is that hearing, the board, is that a Board of Adjustment hearing?
It's the Board of
Okay.
Adjustment hearing.
So conditional uses go to the Board of Adjustment, not the Planning Board?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. I had that one quirky in my head, so, got it.
So basically, the planning board's role would just be to approve, subject, to pass it on to the Board of Adjustment, right?
Well, no, the planning board doesn't review it. The planning board's role is legislative, so they make recommendations on ordinance texts and maps.
So they don't get it and we don't get it. It goes to the Board of Adjustment, and if the people don't like the Board of Adjustment, it goes to court.
That's correct.
Is that how, I mean, is that how conditional use usually works? That seems to be, maybe I'm just having a moment of,
That's the general course of action for those quasi-judicial decisions. I mean, there's different ways to put them together, yes, but that is fairly standard.
have we ever, so this is the first time this board has really struggled with the conditional use determination outside of the big adopting the zoning part.
Well, this board's role is just to approve or disapprove the recommendation from the planning board, so for how the conditional use standards will be applied. So we got the language here, and what the Board of Adjustment does is hold a quasi-judicial hearing. They act as the judge and jury. Evidence is presented for and against and whatnot, and they make a decision based on
Maybe
that.
I'm getting confused with my other hat about conditional use zone. I'm definitely
Conditional zoning is
confused
different.
with the,
Conditional zoning is different.
okay. Then now all of a sudden I'm having a moment, but.
Okay.
So there's not a way that, so there's one body that, a group of folks that we appoint to the Board of Adjustments is the body that approves the conditional use for the,
As requested, yes, and that's a supermajority process. It's not a simple majority, it's got to be 6/7.
I'm inclined to, and this might be inappropriate, and if y'all are ready to go, I totally get it. I am inclined to be supportive, but the truth of the matter is that I need to absorb that for a couple of weeks because I apologize. That's my first time kind of thinking through that step. Because I guess I was thinking there was going to be a board level at some point too, but and I need to do some more homework around it. I think I was the one that proposed that we really need to have this community conversation about where do we want the asphalt plants? Do we want them or do we don't? And I think this is actually appropriate district if we're going to have them. I'm not very inclined to think open use is the right place for them because that seems to be a rural area. That said, I'm struggling with the process. I'm just being honest about where I am right now. So, because it's a kind of a big deal, and given that we've gone through this concrete plant, issue, I think I need a couple of weeks to do a gut check on it.
Well, just one other basic question while we're there. This is in addition to open use, is it not?
Yes, it is already a conditional use in open use and would follow that same procedure.
We're not
going
replacing
to,
employment
Board
with open use. Open use is, everything that we have now is still in effect. This is in addition to that.
That's
But
correct.
what's really important about this is that, right now, if I understood you right, open use doesn't have any standards.
No standards other
So-
than the regular conditional use standards, which are an evaluation for their
Yeah, and I
basic
think these are
impact.
really, really important for an asphalt plant wherever it goes. I mean, I think this is appropriate. And if y'all are ready to go, you know, I appreciate that, and I apologize for not kind of thinking that through. I thought I'd done all my homework and read and asked all my questions and had my little homework, but,
Okay, well, what's the pleasure of the board?
it's a big one.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, we have lots of folks here who are here for this purpose. And it would be my recommendation that the planning board has done their work, and they brought us a proposal. And I think folks have looked at it. I think we have people here who are ready to speak. It would be my proposal that we have the public hearing and go from there.
Okay, Commissioner Bailey? Okay. Why don't we go ahead and we will have the public hearing then, and then we will return to the question and decide if there's a motion and second and vote on it. So I'm going to open the public hearing at 5:22, and the rules are you have 3 minutes to speak. You will be able to see there'll be a green, yellow, and red light. We do not permit any personal attacks. We're going to treat each other like ladies and gentlemen, like we always do. I'd ask that you not respond. This is a public hearing. It's not a popularity contest. I don't want to hear any booing or cheering. And that's the way we do public hearings. Because when everybody heard, and if we have a lot of folks to speak on it, I may even have folks get some chairs over here. Maybe the next couple speakers can have a place to sit. In fact, could we get that some chairs over there so if there are 2 people in line to speak, perhaps we could have them waiting. And I'll recognize you one by one. I'm going to open the public hearing and take first Mr. Rice. And if someone could we get those chairs over here? I'm sorry, somebody.
Why don't you have them raise their hand, how many people are going to
Yeah,
speak?
well, yeah, that's a good question. How many people want to speak on this? Just raise your hand. On the asphalt plant amendment. Okay, well, we don't have that many.
only have
Okay,
3.
That's
That's all
fine,
right.
I'm sorry, we miscalculated. Mr. Rice, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't bother, that's good.
Holly, I think you brought up a great question, and I certainly admire you for it. My concern would be, why would you have appointed board to make a decision for elected officials? Yuns are elected. It ought to come to you to be looked at and not go straight into court. I think advisory, you're setting yourself up for other boards to start doing the same thing, and I think you'd be neglecting your duty as officials to not have the oversight. I have another concern, portable asphalt. I never heard that mentioned. Portable asphalt plants being set up, that should be included. What about the one at Inca? Now at Candler, they come here and they brought these questions, and I raised a bunch of concerns then. And I think it's been brought to the board in order to be able to put one in Candler, North Carolina. And they've got plenty of money to fight whatever lawsuit you want to handle. They've got plenty of money to do it, and I suspect they'll win hands down. That's my observation, what money does to corrupt the system. The other thing is we've got an asphalt plant in Candler. This one that brought this to the attention of the board already is going to be a half a mile from the other one. Now, the Air Pollution Control Board You're the one that appoints the control board members and the city. So to me, it sounds like a conflict of interest for them to handle these kind of things. I don't care if they're regulated or not by the state. I think you ought to have the state to look at these things when you have these kind of issues, rather than having your appointees and the city appointees to be governing the fox garden and hen house. I say, I guess that's a little way of putting it. But my concern also in Candler is there's a flood zone out there. And this is going to be coming up. I'll guarantee you they'll be here to get their permit, the first one, as soon as you pass this thing. And Candler, you know, has been flooded several times. 1977 is a great example. And the setback, I think it don't need to be less than 500 or 600 feet if you have a setback at all. I just have some very deep concerns about Candler, because I've lived there all my life. I know the area. And there's also a pallet plant there, and it's a big eyesore. And having these pollutants, and you think about this, the air pollutants, air pollution will control that one plant, but nobody has done a study to see the combination of the air pollutants when they're combined in the close proximity. So you need to look at that question also.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am. If you'll give your name and where you're from.
I want to ask first, may I respond to two issues, or can you only have one comment about one topic per
right
evening?
Right now it's comment. I'm going to let
this.
you ask a question as part of your comment, though.
Just checking. Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa Almaraz. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. And I just wanted to let people know that living near any roadway in any city, just a plain roadway, increases chance for cardiac arrest by more than 50%. Adding an asphalt plant to an area in anywhere where more people are concentrated will increase particulate matter in the air by many thousands of times, okay? So you're looking at a much greater health increase than you may have known. And I just would like to encourage, as a county living in one of the most beautiful places in the world, that we cherish our environment and our creeks and all of that. And rather than getting a planning board who starts with the very minimum, let's start with best practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, any other public comment on this? Yes, ma'am. You're next. And then you're next after her, ma'am, sir.
Hi, I'm Lisa Landis. My father and my husband had an asphalt company, and I know that prices come down when you don't have far to go from an asphalt plant to where it is. And I'm sure that there are some practices that you could take for filling the bottom to protect the soil from going in, and it's like, I mean, you're going to smell it, and unless they've made some really great new inventions. But I mean, you drive by an asphalt plant and you're going to smell it. So it's like, you know, do you want to pay higher for, or you know, are you going to look at health issues? I mean, I agree with what Lisa had said. Yeah, don't set the standards so low. Set them a little bit higher. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Landis. Any other public comment? Yes, sir. Anybody else want to comment after this gentleman? Okay, Mr. Justice.
Fell right back over there. Jeff Turner, and I was just listening to these folks. I live here in Buncombe, and to me, that 100 foot from a well is kind of scary. I mean, you're already dealing with a CTS, and this sounds like the makings of another one, just different types of hazardous materials being used, and that's awfully close, and that's a big thing, a big asphalt kind of deal going on there. And it's got movement to and fro all the time, so it can affect the bedrock and the status down below. And the drainage, if it does flood, as Mr. Rice suggested, we've lived here our whole life, we know it does. It would just be a mess everywhere at that point, kind of like a mini oil spill. So the hazardous material being so close to the 100 foot is not even good enough, really, to me, on private residential. And the 500, probably for commercial, sounded good. That was my comment. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As the resolution from the planning board indicated, there were more than a handful of meetings. There was a lot of meetings with the planning board on this topic, and a lot of input taken at the planning board level. There may have been 2 speakers at the public hearing, but there were a lot of meetings in advance of the public hearing where a lot of people spoke on this topic. Just to have a unanimous position taken by the planning board is these days somewhat of a miracle in and of itself, just because of the diversity of opinions. And so that should be a sign that they have done their homework. I can draw horror stories about any type of facility, being it a Bojangles, a McDonald's, a car wash. I can describe a lot of things that might be horrible. The bottom line is that in these standards, these are minimum standards, as I think was indicated to Holly. The Board of Adjustment has the right in a fact-specific context, if there is proof that standards need to be heightened, the Board of Adjustment has that authority. The bottom line is, you look here, they cover pretty much everything that you could think of that's well, this might be a problem or this might be a problem. The Planning Board covered all these after many, many meetings. And I will say the groundwater intake question, the reason it was 100 feet is when you think of asphalt plants, you think of air. You don't think of, well, it's going to flood in 1977 and somehow it's going to release into the groundwater. You don't think of those things. The state of North Carolina, in regulating it, and they have spent a lot more time than we have in looking at these issues, they've decided that 100 feet is sufficient. And the bottom line is the Planning Board felt like they are the experts, and giving the Board of Adjustment the right in a particular context to raise the bar would be appropriate. If you took that bar and you said, well, you have to be 500 feet from a well, then you might exclude a number of areas, like a pallet facility, near a quarry, or near a lot of places where you would go, you know, that was a good place. Mm-hmm. And in the end, the risk is probably that much in 100 years. And so the Planning Board looked hard at it, and I would appreciate you moving this forward with a favorable vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Justice. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan March. I'm with Pisgah Environmental Services, and I'm an environmental engineer who specializes in air pollution. And I have a master's degree in engineering, and I've been in this business since 1982. And one of the things I do is do permitting and air toxics modeling for asphalt plants. I've done a number of them, some in this county, some elsewhere. It's quite a arduous process to do the chemical engineering and air toxics modeling studies that are a part of what the Western North Carolina Regional Air Quality Agency will evaluate when I submit, or anyone else would submit this package to them. And essentially, we will model a number of air toxics and particulate matter and determine off-site consequences of the several emission sources at a plant that could emit these things to the atmosphere. And any facility that gets an air permit has to demonstrate that they will comply with the ambient air quality limits, or the AALs. So if you don't, then you'll have to move the facility, you'll have to undertake other engineering controls that could be imposed by the agency, or some other ways to come into compliance to demonstrate that your plant will not affect the public health off-site or at adjacent properties. The other issue that's come up here today has to do with modeling of both sites. Was the example here down near Candler. The air pollution regulations actually do account for this, is that when this modeling evaluation takes place, you look at the background concentration, and if you have another essentially co-located plant, you have to do an evaluation that considers all three sources. So if you have any questions about this process, please, I'd be willing to take them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marks. Any other public comment? All right. I'll declare the public hearing closed at 5:35. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I personally have enough information to go forward.
Okay. Is there a motion of any sort?
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the planning board.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Bailey to accept the recommendation. Is there any discussion?
I would just say that I am going to be supportive of this today, and I would hope that we would work hard with the notification to the public to really engage. If such a permit should be requested, that the community or interested parties to come forward and do their due diligence around that, and hope our staff is also diligent in some. So our staff would also be at the Board of Adjustments as well?
Yes.
So there would be a Buncombe County representative also kind of looking out for the bigger picture as well?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And I mean, I think what's really important for the public to understand today is that prior to today, the standards there were none. I mean, that's actually very scary to me that we, but we are going to rectify that today, and I think that, as the gentleman said earlier, there's a lot of different concerns that have really been thought through here. All my concerns are laid out in these standards. That said, I do hope that the particular concerns of a site will be really taken into account, and these will be seen as minimums. If more is necessary, then that is what we hope will be determined going forward. But I will be supportive today.
And I concur with what Holly's saying as well.
Okay.
And I think it's important, even though it's been said during the public hearing, that it's important that folks remember the makeup of the planning board, and the folks on that board really bring some expertise to this field, and they have had numerous hearings concerning this and done a lot of work to bring this plan to us. So I think that's important for us to remember also.
I guess I'm going to be the odd guy out today. This does apply to open use, right? This gives standards. So after tonight, there are more protections for people that live near asphalt plants that they don't have today, both in open use and in the new employment
Correct.
use. Okay, because that's a real positive, that we're got some standards. We're telling people you can't just put them anywhere, because that's been one of the biggest problems and one of the dangers of living in Buncombe County, that you don't know you have no say over your community. I think in this particular one, while I appreciate the planning board's efforts, I can't support it because it seems like it's just something we're doing for one individual. And I think that's always bad policy. I like the protocol. I like what we've added to open use. But I think I would agree with the speaker, I believe it was Ms. Landis. Yes, Ms. Landis and the other Ms. Tulises, talking about the health effects. We're a health community, and I just don't think I can support adding the potential for more asphalt plants in Buncombe County. So, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. No. The motion passes 3-1. Thank you. And if anyone would like that it was here for the asphalt plant, you're welcome to stay for the rest, but it's a good time to leave if you would like. There are plenty of people standing, and there are some seats over here on to the left. Thank you. The next order of business is, we'll let folks clear, and there's some more. There'll be seats in the front if you want to be on the front row here. All righty, and let's go ahead, Ms. Trumpy, tell us about the other zoning amendment administrative changes.
These are administrative changes to the zoning ordinance. They're proposed for basically clarification and consistency, really sort of housekeeping items. The planning board did review these over about a 2-month period. They're some pretty straightforward items, allowing for civil penalties, changing some Board of Adjustment hearing requirements on appeals, clarifying minimum lot sizes in Beaver Dam, and procedures for issuing Board of Adjustment orders. It's basically to bring the text in line with procedures that we have currently and just make things more consistent and clear. The Planning Board held a public hearing on these proposed changes February 7th of this year. There was one speaker at that meeting who was recommending higher civil penalties than the $100 a day provided for, and the Planning Board did find that these changes are consistent with the land use plan and that they establish administrative procedures and add clarity, and recommended unanimously that the text amendment be approved.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Trumpy. I'd propose we proceed the same way. Any questions from the board? Ms. Trumpy, before we open the public hearing. My question would be along those lines. Are the civil penalties in line with other communities, other counties, similar to ours?
They are, and I believe that's what statute allows for.
Oh, so there's a set amount you can charge?
You certainly can't make it unreasonable or cost prohibitive or seem as a punishment without having to go to the court. So it's meant to, to try to steer them toward compliance rather than punish.
Okay, any other questions or any other comments before we open the public hearing for these changes? All right, then I'll declare this public hearing to begin at 5:43. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this, the zoning amendments as outlined by Ms. Trumpy? All right. If not, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 5:44. Is there a motion?
Move adoption of resolution.
Second.
It's been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion among the board? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The amendments are adopted 4-0. No county manager report, I think we established earlier. Our next order of business is a report on the from the Buncombe County Animal Coalition, and we have Catherine Shinar, I believe, and Denise Bitt. Catherine is with Asheville Humane Society, and Denise Bitts is with the director of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue. And thank you, ladies, for the countless hours you put in to look after our animals in Buncombe County, and we'd like to hear what you say about, and we have, if you'll introduce folks behind you, we'd love to hear your report. And no PowerPoint?
We have a PowerPoint, but you would have had to have it earlier.
It's attached, he has it.
Do we have we don't have a PowerPoint?
We have it.
It was attached to the agenda.
Yeah, if you had it earlier, it's attached to their packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got it. We could introduce while we're waiting.
All right, we'll proceed without it.
Why don't you tell who people are
Well,
first? And
I think
give
it's
her-
coming.
yeah, why don't we see if we can get it on the screen? Can we do that? Okay, just, you go ahead and get started. We'll see if we can get it
Okay.
up. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Chairman Gant. We're happy to be here. The board, we're happy to have this opportunity to visit with you all this afternoon. And I'd like to introduce some of my colleagues here. My name is Catherine McGowan Shinar. I'm the President and CEO of Asheville Humane Society. With me is Denise Bitts, the Executive Director of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue. This is Keita Mazzina, who is the Executive Director of the Humane Alliance of Western North Carolina. Eileen Baressa, who is the Executive Director of Animal Compassion Network. Brenda Sears, who is the Animal Services Supervisor for the City of Asheville. And Lieutenant Kevin Calhoun, hiding in the back there, is the Animal Services Director for Buncombe County Sheriff's Department. And all of the other fine folks that are up here with us are representing this coalition. We're very happy to be with you this afternoon to kind of let you know what's going on in the world of animal welfare in Buncombe County. Do we have the slideshow?
We're working it. Why don't you go ahead and
all right.
And if your presentation is geared with the slideshow, maybe, or the PowerPoint, maybe we have someone else speak, and then we'll get that. See if we can get that in a later time.
You tell him what slide is next. He can do it for you.
All right. Well, we're going to try for slide 2.
Oh, there you go.
Look at our award-winning group. I
there
knew
we go.
I didn't have any doubt. They'd
Thank
do
you
it.
very much. Appreciate that.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're probably wondering, who are we? We are a coalition that is actually comprised of the 5 direct service providers to the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. We are Animal Compassion Network, the Asheville Humane Society, Brother Wolf Animal Rescue, Friends to Ferals, Humane Alliance of Western North Carolina, and I think Nancy Schneider is here. Oh, hi. Nancy is head of Friends to Ferals. I didn't get to introduce her earlier. We have secondary participants. We've already mentioned Lieutenant Calhoun, Brenda Sears from the city. And the reason why we exist as a coalition is that we came together because we wanted to work together collaboratively as a coalition to save lives of homeless animals in our own community. And how do we do it? We do it through spaying and neutering and transferring animals from the Buncombe County Animal Shelter to our private nonprofit organizations. You'll see in this slide here, there's the Buncombe County Animal Shelter and the private nonprofit organizations who take the animals directly from the Buncombe County Animal Shelter into their private nonprofit adoption settings. We raise private donations to care for those homeless animals. Combined, we raised over $1.3 million last year in private funding to care for these homeless animals at absolutely no cost to taxpayers. Our constituents comprise private donors and volunteers who represent 14,000 households in Buncombe County. The reason we're with you this afternoon is to give you sort of the state of animal homelessness and where we stand as a community here in Buncombe County. In order to understand that, you need to know where we've been as a community. 10 years ago, there were 208,000 residents, and now, 10 years later, there are 238,000 residents living in Buncombe County, and with that, you would imagine, with a 15% increase in our population, of course, the need for services for homeless animals would increase. But because we're a progressive community, we actually saw a decline of 28% over the last decade. In 2000, 9,339 animals were entering the Buncombe County Animal Shelter, and last year, 6,735 entered the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. This is a 28% decline in a period of 10 years in spite of a 15% increase in human population. To kind of put that in perspective, in 1994, there were 85 animals per 1,000 people entering the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. In 2010, there were 22 animals per 1,000 people entering the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. How has this happened? Well, we have to give credit where credit is due, and a lot of the people are sitting here in this room today. There are a lot of milestones this past decade thanks to First of all, Buncombe County enacting a mandatory spay-neuter ordinance in 2004. In 2005, the city of Asheville followed suit and enacted a mandatory spay-neuter ordinance. In 2006, Buncombe County Commissioners set a goal that 2012 Buncombe County would be the first county in the nation to euthanize no healthy animals. In 2008, Animal Compassion Network opened Pet Harmony. The Humane Alliance opened their International Training Center right here in Buncombe County. It's a little secret that we have here. Asheville Humane Society started our Lily Grace Fund, which is a medical rehabilitation fund. And we began our transport program. In 2009, Brother Wolf came to the table and opened a shelter and adoption center. The city of Asheville passed anti-tethering legislation. And the ASPCA, which is the first humane organization in the United States, chose Buncombe County as one of only 10 communities in the entire nation to partner with them. Buncombe County Commissioners allocated $20,000 in spay-neuter subsidies for animal services. In 2010, we're happy that we have implemented innovative adoption promotions in line with the impact that the recession has had on our community. We opened the Animal Care Campus. Many of you were there for the grand opening and helped us celebrate that huge milestone just this past September. And the Animal Coalition of Buncombe County was formed, representing all of these nonprofit organizations. The Buncombe County Commissioners allocated $100,000 to spay and neuter every single animal that was taken from the Buncombe County Animal Shelter and transferred to a nonprofit agency that would find a home for that animal. And that really is an amazing credit that we really, thank you all very much for. Currently, we're providing the following services to the community, and this is done with private donations. We were able to adopt nearly 5,000 animals. There were over 9,000 surgeries that were performed. We subsidized over 1,000 spay-neuter surgeries in the community. Our charitable pet food assistance program, we actually served over 20,000 actual meals. The pet food pantry provided over 7,000 pounds of food. And we were able to have some family reunions. We reunited lost pets with their owners, which we did that 674 times, which is pretty amazing just last year. We continue to provide the community with veterinary medical assistance and education and community outreach. So you're probably wondering, with all this great success, what is different today in 2010, 2011 now, from 2000? The difference is the animals, the type of animals that are coming into the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. The animals that we saw in 2000, we're able to get a handle on those animals who do not have illnesses or injuries. In 2000, a dog that would come in with a broken leg to the Buncombe County Animal Shelter was considered unadoptable. The dog that you see here on the screen, her name is July. She came in on the 4th of July. And because of a private medical rehabilitation fund, we're able to treat animals like July who were once considered unadoptable. Can we do this for every animal? Unfortunately, no. But we can do it for many more animals than we did 10 years ago. And treating animals with heartworm disease who are young and have a good prognosis for a long life is very common now, and it was unheard of 10 years ago. So what I'd like to do is introduce Denise Bitts to talk about where do we go from here.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for inviting us here. Together we stand before you today, united as a coalition. We acknowledge that we've come very far within the past decade, but the problem is not yet solved for all animals. Our goal is to prevent unnecessary births of animals and prevent admissions to the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. We recognize that we cannot do this without collaborating with each other to address this problem. Our community is very supportive. We have homes that foster animals for us and volunteer at our shelters and adoption centers. We have private citizens volunteering with all of our agencies to help solve this problem. We are grateful that we have a supportive government that implemented spay-neuter funding for every animal transferred into an adoption setting from the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. We are very grateful for that fund. In order to prevent the problem, prevent the number of animals euthanized, and prevent the number of animals admitted into the Buncombe County Animal Shelter, and to maintain the rate of success we've accomplished this past decade, we humbly ask the county commissioners to reallocate spay-neuter funding for our law enforcement partners working in the field addressing violations and enforcing ordinances. These officers have direct contact with citizens who most need spay-neuter vouchers. Officers have reported that these vouchers have the greatest impact on attaining citizen compliance and preventing unnecessary births. We, the Animal Coalition of Buncombe County, request that the Buncombe County Commissioners will annually allocate $10,000 for law enforcement personnel to distribute spay-neuter vouchers in the field. We also hope the Commissioners will annually allocate $10,000 for spay-neuter vouchers for citizens on public assistance. We believe that this is the most needed resource to lower our euthanasia rates in Buncombe County, decrease the admission to the Buncombe County Animal Shelter, and provide a safe, humane community for people and their animals. Without this funding, as the population of the area increases, we are concerned about regressing and our continued ability to meet this goal. We hope you will recognize the importance of supporting our law enforcement partners and our coalition.
We want to say a special thank you to some very special people that we work with quite frequently. And yes, Chairman Gand is in the photo, but the real heroes in that photo are Kathy Hughes and Mandy Stone and Jim Holland, who unfortunately is not here today. But the staff at Buncombe County has been tremendous to work with, and they have worked with us to collaborate on how to make this a private-public partnership that literally saves lives of homeless animals in our community and meets the needs of our citizens. We just want to thank and acknowledge them. And we want to thank the commissioners for their progressive and thoughtful way to approach a social issue that can sometimes be very emotional, and the strategic approach that Chairman Gant and the rest of the board have taken over these recent years. We really are most grateful, and we hope to continue working collaboratively so that we can save more lives in Buncombe County. Thank you.
Great. It tugs at my heart.
Ladies, you're the first team. Y'all make it happen. You know, we can set all the goals we want, but somebody has to be on the front line working it, partnering. And I can tell you from my experience, that very, very few communities in this country could do a coalition like you. You know this, and you're nodding your heads because you know these things, because you go to conventions too. And I appreciate you getting together to tell us what we need to do, because we don't want, it's a safety hazard, it's just a moral hazard to have what we had before. And we've got to reduce it. We need to have strong goals, and I think we're headed there. We may not get there in the time we've set, but I tend to think we might with you ladies and your organizations and you gentlemen enforcing it. And you tell us you need vouchers more to do your job and to get them to people when they need them. We're going to look at that real hard in our budget, because we're serious about this. Everybody on this board loves animals. Everybody on this board, I think, has animals. And we want to help you. We want it to happen. We want to be proud of our community. We want to remain a national leader, and we are. We know that, and we love it that the ASPC wants to come here and partner with us, and you want to partner together, because that's how it's happening. And I just, with our new facility, our spay-neuter capacity, I think we can do it, and I can really show the rest of the country something. So I thank you. Any other comments?
Well, having been a person who said I would never, not that I would never, but I was a little hesitant to go to the animal shelter prior to getting our new one. But one of the best experiences I've had within the past couple of months was actually going to the Asheville Humane Society, looking for a new friend, which we found. Actually, they went next door to the animal shelter and brought her over, and we met her in this wonderful, clean, wonderful, bright, great facility. And she walked in, and we were in this glass enclosed cage. They had little couches for the puppies, and I thought, we can't take this puppy home because it's not going to be nearly as nice when she gets home as she has here. It was an absolutely wonderful experience. The folks there were great. The choice of animals that we could have had was wonderful. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So we have a new little girl at our house. Her name is Yellow. Our other dog's name's Blue, so we're going with colors here. Her name is Yellow. She's part retriever and part chow, and she is just delightful, absolutely delightful. And it is due in such large response to to you folks standing there, and the facilities that you run, and the love and care that you give to these animals. We've got two lights in our life. Blue is one and yellow is the other. And I thank you for the good work you did with her. We are eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Well, we thank you and congratulate you on your new family member, and hope and invite every county commissioner to become a foster volunteer.
We could
We are in
help that
kitten
number,
season.
right?
Yeah. You could see my behavior of my dog. You would not want me to be a foster. I have a quick question, though, and this might be putting on your spot because, I mean, I think we're all moved, just because we love animals and we're happy of so many better outcomes. And just so that little comment, like, we all know that it's not the dog's problem that she's a bad, it's Holly's problem that she doesn't walk very well on the lead, so I'm going to work on that. So, good dog, bad owner. But my question has to do with dollars that we save with when we reduce the number of animals that we have to euthanize. I mean, it's a budget issue for us as well. So do you happen to know, and I might put Ms. Stone on the line in case it's not on the top of your head, but it seems like the dollars the potential that we would invest in a budget are recouped and more from the cost of the other facet of that. Am I correct in that?
You are correct in that. And the $100,000 that got allocated this year towards spay and neuter were not new dollars. They were our ability to reallocate dollars that would have been spent sheltering animals. So that is the approach that we've taken. And I would be afraid to quote that number, but know that number, and I'm happy to email it to you. I just am afraid to quote it off the top of my head. But that
okay.
is how we built the budget.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think sometimes people don't understand that this is also saving us money on the other end in terms of, well, we don't want to necessarily play it all out, but there's definitely cost involved, either sheltering or so.
And as well in the animal control side. Certainly spay and neuter eventually impacts the demand on our sheriff's department related to spay and neuter, and the Asheville Police Department as well.
Thank you.
Well, there's so much synergy where our new facilities are, where the Asheville Humane Facility is, and AB Tech, America's favorite community college. And Ray Bailey was instrumental in getting that set up before he gratefully joined us. So there's been just a lot of good partnerships. Is the AB Tech connection going well and working together?
It's a really great partnership because I believe that we're the only animal shelter in the United States, with one exception, which I believe is in Oregon, where there's an Institute of Higher Learning within the walls of an animal shelter. And the real life-saving work happens when a Buncombe County citizen brings in a stray animal that's perhaps injured, and we have the professors from AB Tech literally right there with the students, and they're able to collaborate with our professional staff to assess the situation. The students are getting real hands-on experience with these animals, and we get to save a life. So it's a pretty terrific partnership, and one that we're really very grateful for. And again, applaud the commissioners for recognizing the importance of putting an Institute of Higher Learning within an animal shelter. I don't know that many people would think about that.
And we had good prodding from President Bailey. And there are three parts to it: the spay neuter, the adoption, and then the education.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Well, y'all have made us winners, and let's keep winning, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That was a good one, though. All right. Next, we have Debbie to talk about conservation easements and a request, and I believe you have a PowerPoint about some of these potential places that we can preserve.
These are funding requests. They have come from the Land Conservation Advisory Board, the Agricultural Advisory Board, and the Soil and Water Conservation District. All three of these groups work with conservation easements and have easements lined up that can be accomplished within the next year or a little longer with funding. There are 9 easements that we're requesting money for. It will protect 1,634 acres. 5 of those are asking for transaction cost money as well as some money for bargain sales. 4 of them are asking for transaction costs only. The first one is Jim's Branch, 122 acres in Swannanoa. The request is for $51,650 for both transaction costs and a bargain sale. The landowner is willing to donate 94% of the value of that easement. It is located in one of the conservation focus areas that you adopted, I believe, in 2004. And it is a easement recommended by the Land Conservation Advisory Board. It is located in Swannanoa, adjacent to the Cove, the Billy Graham facility. It's visible from I-40, and the ridgeline is visible from the Parkway. And it has 8 headwater streams located on the property, which is 6,598 feet in the French Broad watershed. And you can see from the map, maybe, in the far northern edge is the lowest elevation part of the property, and that is where the owner would like to reserve the right to locate 3 home sites. The next easement is Little Pisgah Mountain. This is 506 acres located in Fairview, and the request is for $395,000 for transaction costs and a bargain sale. It too is in the conservation focus area and is recommended by the Land Conservation Advisory Board. It is adjacent to the easement that is held by the Carolina Mountain Land Conservancy. It's also adjacent to property owned by the Nature Conservancy. And this 506 acres added to that adds the potential for 700 protected acres contiguous. It is very visible from many scenic byways, the Parkway, Bear Wallow Mountain. It has 100 acres of high elevation pastures and 405 acres of working forest lands. The owners would like to reserve 5 new home sites and 2 guest houses on the property. And it has 22,000 feet of headwater streams flowing into Guerin Creek and Cane Creek. This money would be matched by a private donation, which has already been approved. And then the landowners would also donate a sizable $1.5 million value on this property, leveraging the purchase price very well. The next one of these, also recommended by the Land Conservation Advisory Board, is Camp Woodson. It's 235 acres in Broad River, and the request is for $502,000, and a Clean Water Management Trust Fund grant has already been applied for as well. This is the property where Camp Woodson is operated. The Pisgah Center would like to buy this property in order to expand that Wilderness Challenge program. It has the added social benefit of not just protecting a lot of nice acres, but also of carrying out the mission of lowering the rearrest rates for incarcerated youth. They provide career counseling, education, treatment, and transitional living services. It also is in a conservation focus area. And you can see on the pink outline there is the outline of the property. The green are riparian buffer areas, 106 acres. That's what the Clean Water Management Trust Fund application is to cover. There are some outlined in light pink, some limited development areas. And then there is already development area where the Camp Woodson is currently operating. There's a view down into that property. And again, a view down into it, the lake there you can see down in the bottom, and it goes up to the ridge line. And the lake on the property. The next easement is property that is only 14.5 acres in Buncombe County, but it is part of a much larger easement within Buncombe and Henderson counties. The request is for $41,830 for transaction costs and bargain sale, located in a conservation focus area. And
would you explain what that is, just so people understand?
I'm sorry. Yes. Back in 2004, when the Land Conservation Advisory Board was first tasked, one of their first missions was to map lands that were already conserved and to identify areas to be conserved. And there were, I believe, 9 focus areas that were mainly high elevation properties that were recommended in those focus areas, and you as a board adopted those areas.
Thank you.
You can see the county line in this map. The little point there to the west of it is within Buncombe County, the rest in Henderson. The purple part that is right beside the red is phase 1 of this Bearwalla Mountain easement, and that has already been closed. The red part is phase 2, which Carolina Mountain Land Conservancy is working on right now. The connection in Buncombe County would have some trail connections into that much larger easement. And Bearwalla Mountain is very visible from Buncombe County, from Mount Mitchell and Mount Pisgah, the Parkway. It's visible from Chimney Rock State Park. And then this is the view from the top of Bearwalla Mountain. Drover's Road easement is a 24.3 acre easement proposed in Fairview. The request is for $142,675 for transaction costs and a bargain sale. It is also located in a conservation focus area, and this was recommended by the Agriculture Advisory Board as well as the Land Conservation Advisory Board, and it is productive bottomlands along the Drover's Road Scenic Byway. The proposed, it's 3 separate tracks, and those are outlined in red on this map. And existing conservation easements are outlined in the light green, so it is adjacent to conservation easements that are already held by the county.
And adjacent to one of our former chairman's property, it looks like. Is that right?
Yes.
Ramsey.
It's very close. 100% of this land is prime and important statewide soils. And there will be an application also for federal and state grants for this property. There's two of the tracks there. Next request is for Kirstein. This is an easement that your board has already approved and given some transaction costs for. It turned out that the surveys and appraisal work were just larger than were estimated, and another approximately $10,000 is required to finish up that work. It's a 307-acre family farm. It's been in the Kirstein family since the 1700s. It's in a focus area, and it's very scenic pasture land and forest land. You can see the reason the surveys and appraisals cost more is because it is divided up into 6 separate parcels. And this is cattle and looking up into the forest land. The next request is for the Mershot property. That is 118 acres in Ivy Township. The request is for $23,000 for transaction costs, with the landowner willing to donate 100% of the easement value. It is again in a conservation focus area and recommended by the Agricultural Advisory Board. The property is located up at the Madison County line and goes all the way up to 4,200 feet in elevation. And this is a photo of the drive leading up to the property, and you can see there on the side of the building there, their member in the Farmland Preservation Program sign. And a view from up top.
Is it all adjacent to Madison, or is Martins Creek leads into Yancey County, so?
I'm not sure.
You're
I was
thinking it-
thinking it may be Yancey.
My name's Carl Bushot, this is my wife Holly, it's our property you're talking about.
I tell you, could you come so that people take a minute? And if you'll identify yourself and I didn't plan on this, but I want to make sure everybody gets to see your smiling face.
As I said, my name is Carl Mershot, and that's my wife Holly. We own that particular tract of land, and it does parallel part of it on the Buncombe Madison County line. It also goes right up to Yancey County. In fact, 200 feet from our highest most point on our property is the 3-county point between Madison County, Yancey County, and Buncombe County. Again, from our upper ridge line there, one has a great view of, can see out into Haywood County, can see all the way out into Madison County and on out into much of Yancey County. We can see the Big Bald from that particular property line. We can see Unaka Mountain, Roan Mountain, and looking in the other direction, we can see the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we can see Craggy Pinnacle, Craggy Dome, and a good length of the parkway.
Good.
That's our place.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
The next request is for Brown property. That's 230 acres in Leicester. The request is for $35,000 for transaction costs and the Soil and Water Conservation District will be applying for grants for a bargain sale. There it's shown, it is on Browntown Road near Newfound Road, and this is all in agriculture. Most tracts this large have a lot of forest land on them. And then the Woody property request. It's 77.5 acres located in Sandy Mush. That request is for $25,000 for transaction costs. And again, Soil and Water Conservation District will apply for grants to close a bargain sale. It is in the conservation focus area again and is adjacent to an existing conservation easement. And that's located on Sugar Creek Road, about half agriculture and half in forestry. And just a couple views of the property. So these are the funding requests that are being made. I'd like to mention too that out of all of these properties, all but 14 acres are in the present use value program or are tax exempt, as in the case of the Camp Woodson property. They are working farms and forest lands. They do pay the reduced tax rate because they are in the present use value program. If these were protected under conservation easements, the owners would retain their property, so they would still pay property taxes. And generally, a conservation easement does not reduce the property tax values any less than present use value is. The total requests for transaction costs and bargain sales together is 902 acres, $1.1 million, an additional 732 acres and $93,000 is requested just to do the transaction costs for transaction cost properties. And that is a funding request total of $1,226,155, and we're asking that these be included in the 2012 budget.
All right, any questions for Ms. Trumpy? These are all voluntary.
Oh, yes.
People came and have said, we would like you to preserve our land, and we will not develop it in return for your help on transaction cost or purchase price. And none of these we're paying all the money for. It's all leveraging many other sources. Is that right?
Yes, most, well, every case, the landowner is not asking for full easement value. They're contributing part of the cost of that in a bargain sale, and we're also leveraging money from private and state and federal grants.
So the private landowner is voluntarily asking us to do this. They're putting part of their land value toward this transaction. You're getting money from various other sources, and I see many members of the Conservation Board, and maybe if they could maybe come up and identify themselves, because these folks have worked hard with Debbie to get this together for us. But it's all voluntary, and we have an opportunity tonight to talk about preserving land that is breathtaking and is not being made anymore.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So would the Land Conservation Board and the Farm Board also come up and maybe tell us who you are and if you represent an organization? I know Carl and Karen represent organizations.
I'm Carl Silverstein. I work with the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy, and as David said, the land is breathtaking, but even more than that, there's multiple very important benefits for the community of doing conservation easements on this land. protects, as you saw in the slides, I think there's tens of thousands of linear feet of headwater streams that would be protected by the conservation easements that have been requested. That helps protect water quality in the county. It's much less expensive to keep water clean than to go back and try to clean it up after the fact. By doing conservation easements on these hillsides and mountaintops, it helps protect the area from flood damage when there's damaging storms. So it's a public safety benefit. There's also a primary benefit of locally grown produce being available in the county. And a number of these farms that would be placed into conservation easement through these requests supply local tailgate markets and restaurants. So there's a major benefit of that. And then the leveraging factor, as you mentioned, on these conservation easements, when you combine the gift that the landowners make with the funding that we've secured from matching sources like other private donors and the state agencies and the federal Farm and Ranch Protection Program, by making a small percentage of the investment, the county is leveraging millions of dollars in additional value. Thanks.
Thanks, Carl. Kieran?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kieran Rowe of the Carolina Mountain Land Conservancy down in Hendersonville. We work primarily in Henderson, Transylvania, but we also have some projects in southern Buncombe County that we worked with you all in the past, and we're really pleased to have a couple of projects on the list under consideration here today. And just to second what Carl said, in addition to the magnificent conservation benefits to the community that these landowners are volunteering to grant to our organizations, there are some really great economic benefits of this work. One of our two projects is the Camp Woodson project, and as Debbie said, in addition to conserving that land, will also help. It's part of the strategy for keeping the Pisgah Center, which is going to take over that facility at work with at-risk youth in the community and employing people in an important service, as well as the Bear Wallow Mountain project that will keep that land in working agriculture, and so important to supporting the local agricultural economy. So thank you all very much for your consideration.
Bob?
I'm Bob Gale. I'm the ecologist with the Western North Carolina Alliance and have served on the board since its beginning. And I just want to thank the Buncombe County Commissioners for all of the past support. Just a tremendous amount of land in Buncombe County has been protected thanks to the actions of this board. And as an ecologist, I just can't tell you some of the diversity of plant and animal life that has been protected in one of the most wonderful ways, willingness on the owners to do this. And I have to stress, as much as I feel for the ecological aspects, the gift that these landowners give to the community for Buncombe County for future generations is probably the the most incredible gift of all. So thank you very much. And I hope that we can manage to keep some funding going to keep doing this. I've had many other people in other counties that we work with ask me, how in the world does Buncombe County do this? Well, it's because we care. Thank you.
Nancy?
Hi, I'm Nancy Niels Nelson, and I'm an artist and a private citizen in Reems Creek Valley, and I've served on the board for 3 years. I just want to thank you for your support and let you know that what I see in these particular easements and this entire project is to continue to keep the beauty of this area pristine so that people who come here, whether they're here as new residents, or if they're here as visitors that bring money and jobs to this community, this is a win-win situation for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your good work. It helps so much that you narrow down what we need, our policies are to preserve farmland and to preserve land, mountaintop land, and you've kind of prioritized it for us, and instead of just willy-nilly throwing things at us, you give it a lot of thought, and we appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in looking at the board packet when we got this last week, and knowing the love that this commission has for this conservation road that we're on here for the past several years. And also looking at what we get from our finance department, which comes out to the commissioners on Friday, the dashboard for our spending, and looking at the debt service that we have not incurred for this year, and noticing that we have some funding there that may be available. I spoke to Donna Clark, our finance guru, and asked her if she would explain debt service expenditure and where we might find some funds to proceed with this post haste.
Commissioner Peterson, we budgeted for a fairly large project this year that we were not able to borrow for. And so therefore we have principal and interest savings there, which you could use to fund these projects.
Well, it would be my recommendation, Mr. Chairman, that we go ahead this evening and fund these projects, knowing that the great work that these boards have done to get to this point, knowing the importance that this holds for our citizens and the citizens to come after us, and knowing that I think the word love was used there, the love of Buncombe County, and knowing that we share that, I would ask for consideration from our fellow board members that we proceed in this fashion.
Take that as a motion to approve the funding request for the conservation easements listed, the 1634 acres.
Yes, sir. That's my motion.
Between debt service to go ahead and move those funds as
Yes.
part of the motion?
That would be, yes.
So the motion is to approve, I guess we need to do the budget amendment first, to transfer the funds, and then also, and simultaneously approve. Okay. All right. It's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. I need to ask a few more questions about the budget. I'm excited about potentially doing it this year because I know it's going to get harder, not easier. So kudos to identifying that possibility now. So in terms of the big project that we did not, sorry, it's okay. Got you en route there, but so is that a project that is going to be delayed, or is it going to? I mean, I guess I want to make sure to be a good steward of.
Absolutely.
Are we going to be able to pay for that in the future?
Actually, it was the public safety training facility, and when we did the budget last year, I was expecting to fund the entire project, and the only part that was ready was and John will laugh at me, the ground prep work.
Grading.
The grading. Mm-hmm. So that's the only part that we finance. So we will not finance the remainder of that until next year, which we do already have built into the budget for next year.
Okay. So it's interest we didn't incur, and there you go.
Yeah.
And it's a non-recurring expense, so we know we don't have to plan for it every year. That's great.
But now I saw where there was from John Ager, an email to us that I think like the Woodson project would actually not happen until probably FY 2013.
12-13.
But the monies would be set aside for that as it occurs in FY 12 and 13 and so forth.
What we'll do in the budget amendment is move those monies into another fund where they are held for this specific project.
Okay.
And that money may actually, it could be fiscal year 2013, or it could be 2012, depending on how the matching funds come in.
Right. All of those, well, how many of them are relying on future matching dollars? Half?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm like Commissioner Peterson. This board's risen to it. We don't have these opportunities every day. The window opens and it shuts pretty fast. And we've let a lot of land go. And I think that one thing we do is a part of our legacy should be to preserve land and choose the best land. We can't save it all, but what we do choose to save and protect is good land. Land like yours, sir. Land that makes a difference. And we don't have these opportunities very often, so I'm very enthusiastically supportive and just overwhelmed that we have an opportunity to protect this much land in one day. Is there any other discussion?
Call for the question.
I'll let you vote on it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. We have protected 1,634 more acres than we had earlier tonight. Thank you. 4-0. And thank you, Board, for working and culling through what we need to make good decisions and decide what we can protect with what we have to deal with. Next up, we have the Woodfin bond information. We have Donna Clark to talk about that. This is off the consent agenda, and specifically, it's the resolution authorizing the approval, execution, and delivery of a supplemental indenture in connection with project developing financing bonds, and it's the Woodfin Downtown Corridor Development. Ms. Clark?
Thank you, Chairman Gant and members of the board. I would like to recognize Kurt Boone. He keeps moving on me. He is CEO of Reynolds Mountain Partners, and he's here to answer any questions you may have after I present the financials. In order to understand how we got here, I think it's important that we go back and review what we did in 2008 and what has happened since then in the economy and in the development world that got us where we are today. So Max, if you will start the PowerPoint, please. In November of 2008, you approved the county to issue $12,960,000 worth of project development financing revenue bonds. These were issued on behalf of Reynolds Mountain Partners and the town of Woodfin. Next slide, please. Quickly, let's just review some quick facts. I've had a few questions over the past week, and I thought this might help the public understand where we're coming from. The authority was given to counties to issue this kind of debt in General Statute 159, Article 6. Basically, it's to promote economic development by paying for public improvements in areas that may not develop on their own without those public improvements. The improvements generates new value and incremental revenue. The developer is responsible for paying the debt. And in our case, we accomplished that with a minimum assessment agreement. There is reporting and oversight of the developer, even though they are a private corporation. We're not privy to their books. They do file a quarterly report, and you can find that on emma.msrb.org or municap.com. If at any time the developer fails to make the minimum assessment payment, the county will place a tax lien on the property. Next slide, please. Let's look where the proceeds were allocated. Out of the $12.9 million, $8,183,693 were allocated to the project fund. Those were for construction costs and for closing costs, cost of issuing the debt. The next three funds are technically reserve funds because the development would take years to build out, but the debt payments would be due within 6 months. We borrowed, on behalf of the developer, additional money to cover the debt during the construction phase, and we deposited it into these three accounts. $2,270,376 into the capitalized interest fund, $1,209,661 into a working capital fund, and $1,296,000 into a debt service reserve fund. The incremental revenue fund and the bond fund will be used, the incremental revenue fund is used to accumulate the extra tax money, and the bond fund is used to pay the debt service. The capitalized interest fund and the working capital fund were borrowed net. What that means is we borrowed less than we would actually need in anticipation of investment earnings making up the difference. Well, at the time, we were earning 4.75 on county money. So to be conservative, we projected investment earnings at 2.5%. The average over this period of time has been 0.25%. Obviously, there's a shortfall. Next slide, please. This chart shows the amount available to make the debt service payment, which is due.
Could y'all go outside with your conversation if you don't mind? It's distracting some people. Thank you.
This chart shows the payment that is due August 1st and how we suggest getting to that payment, which leads us into the action that we're requesting from you today. Mr. Boone is requesting your approval to approach the bondholders to request an amendment to the indenture to allow him to borrow $240,000 or approximately $240,000 from the working capital fund before August 2nd, 2011. The working capital fund is not available to us per the bond documents until August 2nd. Well, our bond payment is due August 1st. So we got very close, but the money would be paid back to the working capital fund by Mr. Boone by March 31st, 2012. A good way to think of this is that your mortgage is due August 1st, but your CD is not maturing until August 2nd. So you need that money a day early to make that debt service payment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What's the liability of the county?
When I spoke of risk, our liability is that the developer will default on the loan, but then we have a lien on the property. So, nice property. Kurt Boone is here. He can answer any questions you may have about the development in particular, or I can answer any questions you have about the financing, or he can correct anything I said that may not have been correct.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Boone or Ms. Clark?
Mr. Boone, would you like to kind of give us an update on how everything's going and
Yes.
set our minds at ease?
Okay. Well, thanks. I think everything Ms. Clark said is very factual. We just have this, I call it just a one-time issue in a gap in this one-day difference in able to access some funds. And a couple of things on the update of the project. Since we did issue the bonds and put the money to work in Woodfin, we have been successful in getting a company out there called AVL Technologies. We just got their building completed, and they employ about 150 people, and they have a brand new facility. And so they've entered the area into our development. We also recently, last July, closed on a loan with to begin a mixed-use development of 200 units of apartments and 60,000 square feet of commercial retail. And that loan was financed by Oppenheimer, and it was guaranteed by FHA, and it was their first 220 guarantee program in all of North Carolina. So we've made some great headway. That project's under construction, and it's looking really good. I invite you all to come out and take a look at it. We're going to have some, good, high-quality, affordable apartments, in the north end of the town.
What are the rentals going to, monthly rentals going to be on?
Yeah, they're ranging from, when we look at it on a square foot basis, it's about $1.04 per square foot, which is a little bit below the market, and they're going to range from the low 800s for a one-bedroom up to, we've got 3 bedrooms for about $1,200. And we've already got a huge demand and, a list of people inquiring about them already. And I think you all know we also built a building that houses the Woodfin YMCA, and they've been doing really well. The membership base is up to a little over 2,400 out there. So between all of our efforts and thankfully working with you guys with these bonds to help the horizontal development get started, we've created 150 jobs in the development. Future going to be about 700 total residents when you look at the total bedrooms. The YMCA is thriving, and so we're, even through this dire economy, in the real estate business, we've done pretty well. What I've learned about these about the TIF bonds is we were issued at the project level about $8 million worth of bonds, and there's a bare minimum of assessed value that goes to support that. And with the improvements that we've got in, once we're finished with the apartments, we're there at that assessed level. So in other words, when you're talking about risk, is once we're done, the tax assessment will support the bonds that we've already drawn. So
you're basically creating a downtown for Woodfin with housing and everything else.
That's right.
Wow. And Woodfin deserves it. They've got a lot of things put out that way that communities don't want. So
if you haven't been to ABL Technologies, you need to go.
Have you been
State
there?
of the art. I have.
It is really first class.
First class.
We're gonna have a hopefully a ribbon cutting ceremony in June on our first apartment building. We're gonna invite all you guys out to come take a look.
I move approval.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Bailey, a second by Commissioner Jones. Is there any further discussion?
Is there a public hearing on
this? No, sir. Any other comments? Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And we will take a 5-minute break. We'll reconvene in 5 minutes. We have, I have some announcements to make. Okay, look, we got to finish up here. We want to hear from everybody, make sure everybody's got a chance to tell us their comments tonight. We have board appointments. We have some vacancies if someone wants to serve on boards. We have Montreat Planning and Zoning Board. We have one vacancy that will need to be filled in the future. Montreat Board of Adjustment has one vacancy. So some of these things we talked about today, if you live in the Montreat area, we need people to serve on those boards. Historic Resources Commission, we have one vacancy. And Asheville Planning Board, yet another board that is very important in our district. If you live in the Reynolds District, we have a vacancy there. And I think it's obvious they make a lot of decisions that affect us all. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners will be May 3rd, 2011 at 4:30. Commission meetings can be seen on BC Charter Cable Channel 2 on Tuesday and Thursday at 8, Wednesday at 3 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday at 9, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. Our next order of business is public comment. We will have 3 minutes, and we always ask the people say where they're from, what their name is, where they're from, and then we have 3 minutes, and we do not permit personal attacks. We want to hear from you, but we want to hear from you in a way that is proper. So, public comment, Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I certainly am in support of our URTV, so I done said my piece last time on that. It still stands. I've got another issue that I'm handing out to you. It's on the deserted mobile home, and I'd like for you all to consider this. I've brought it up many times, and I'm going to bring it up again until you answer me. Because on this deserted mobile home, this picture on your front website, it makes it look like that we're full of trashy mobile homes everywhere. I agree that we have a lot of bad situations, but we do have homes that might not look as bad as what you've got pictured here. I'd like to see the zoning to come in to coincide with your zoning ordinance, coincide with the junkyard ordinance, because if you move your trailer off of the property, you can't put nothing back less than 12 months, it says here. But in your zoning, you can put it back in a different time frame, and if you do it this way, you won't be able to put the mobile home back. Now, if this has been changed, I'd like to know, because I think it's preventing people from being able to provide themselves or their child with a mobile home that they can put back on their property by having the disparity between your junk car ordinance and your ordinance on your land ordinance. So to me, it's good to get rid of trashy stuff. I agree with that. I've got one myself that probably is trash looking, but it ain't going till I'll be able to put another one in its place, because if I remove it, I've got to do it in such a time frame, and that's where I'm asking you to have your zoning ordinance to look at this and come back to you and explain that they are the same in the length of time that you have to put it back if you remove it. That's all I'm asking. I appreciate it. I think it give people an opportunity to provide their children with a place to live.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rice. Next up. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bennett.
My name is Peggy Bennett, and I live in Leicester. Chairman Gant, Commissioners, I have given you each a copy of the list of delinquent taxpayers in Buncombe County, 7,884 people unable to pay their property taxes and in jeopardy of losing their homes and property. Now I must bring up car allowance. You all are so fortunate to have at these same struggling taxpayers' expense. You would need to drive over 1,000 miles every month to use your $650 monthly allowance that you all seem to feel you're entitled to. Chairman Gant, you said you attend 200 to 250 speaking engagements a year.
Probably more than that, actually. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, you said half. You said 400 to 500 you got invitations to, and you attended half of them. So that's 200 to 250. That many speaking engagements average between 4 and 5 each and every week of the year. I hope you feel they are relevant to how you lead Buncombe County. I humbly submit that you cut way back on these speaking engagements and travel and devote more time to more important matters, like trying to save the county money by putting yourself and all the commissioners on a mileage log. To me, it seems dishonest to take $650 a month without traveling nearly 1,000 miles a month for county business. If you have traveled over the 1,000 miles per month, then you won't lose any money, but will be paid every cent that you are owed. Times are hard for everyone, and it's time to do the right thing and become leaders that we can respect. And while I'm speaking, I just want to say that I do support district elections for our commissioners and firmly believe that it's the right way for this great county to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Next up. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Brother Christopher, and I am a producer at URTV, Public Access here in Nashville, which is the best in North Carolina, bar none. Now, in fact, that one right there bragged about some program you got as top of the line. Remember many times you guys at City Council bragging about top of the line hospitals, top of the line this, top of the line that, how we're top of the line. You have the best public access in the state to where everybody's looking at us. You say, well, why don't they bring in more money? You have no idea what public access is about. You talk about Charlotte. Charlotte only brings in $9,000 and they bust their butt in their bigger city. URTV brought in $30,000 on their own, but it does not make them financially viable without the county and the city. Now, it's interesting that the city is willing to step up. And it's so funny how you guys can still listen to a bunch of liars who have been proven for 4 years that they're nothing but liars. But you try to pick up their garbage and try to keep it off your hands and smear it again. And you know who I'm talking about? I'm talking about Davey and Dial, John Blackwell, and their little crew, who have been lying ever since they came to the city and the county to get rid of URTV because they could not get their little grubby hands on it. I'll give you an interesting thing. The store ripped me off $10. I cursed them. They're no longer in existence 4 months later. You remember Chief Hogan? Former Chief Hogan. He denied water to the poor at Pritchard Park during Belshare for the first time. I cursed him. Look where he's at now. And I could give you more and more and more. So this is what I'm going to say with my 1 minute left. In the name of Yeshua Messiah, the Son of God, let each one of you reap what you sow. Keep the money. I'm going to enjoy seeing 7 more or 6 more homeless people on the streets. Because by the time the legal end gets done, not counting what God does, you're going to ask us for help. I got 37 seconds left. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I almost forgot the presentation. For those of you who watch me moon you, and for those of you who...
You stay right there.
And for those of you who watch my Friday show, this, which WLOS showed a couple of weeks ago, was a representation of a child you are killing through starvation. It's yours.
All right. Any other public comment? Yes, sir, Mr. Lattimore.
What'd he say?
I don't know what he said.
I'm James Lattimore from Woodfin. I was going to throw a bunch of numbers around. I don't think I could compete with Brother Chris. I mean, he's a hard act to follow. But I think I'll just do something that Sam's or Costco does and give you a sample of URTV fare, sort of like a taste of Asheville. Tomorrow on VFP TV, which is the Veterans for Peace show on URTV, we're going to have Laura Hope Gill, who's an Asheville poet and the director of the upcoming Asheville Word Fest, and she's going to introduce us to and read from the works of Brian Turner, who's an Iraq veteran and a poet, and we'll also talk by phone with Turner on the show. And so I invite you all to listen. And I just wanted to read you a couple of things about Turner and a sample of his poetry so that you know what you're in store for. The New York Times Book Review said, "The day of the first moonwalk, my father's college literature professor told his class, 'Someday they'll send a poet and we'll find out what it's really like.' Turner has sent back a dispatch from a place arguably more incomprehensible than the moon, the war in Iraq, and he deserves our thanks." The Washington Post says Turner is a writer who is less warrior than observer, someone whose curiosity, knowledge, and tenderness allow insight into landscapes and people that terrify the rest of us. It's hard to think of a better way around ideology than poetry like this. Turner shows us soldiers who are invincible and wounded, a nation noble and culpable, and a war by turns necessary and abominable. He brings us closer to our own phantom guilt and speaks the words that we both do and do not want to hear. And I'd like to just give you a sample of a poem that from a book he's written called Here Bullet, Here Bullet, B-U-L-L-E-T, Bullet. If a body is what you want, then here is bone and gristle and flesh. Here is the clavicle snapped wish, the aorta's opened valves, the leap thought makes at the synaptic gap. Here is the adrenaline rush you crave, that inexorable flight, that insane puncture into heat and blood. And I dare you to finish what you've started, because here, bullet, here is where I complete
Okay, Jim,
the words
you'll
you
wrap
bring
up.
hissing through the air. Here is where I moan the barrel's cold esophagus.
Okay, Jim, you need to wrap up. I'm sorry. Got to be fair with everybody.
Yeah, okay. You missed the end of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yes, ma'am. You can be next.
Can we move that here?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lattimore.
Deep breath. I'm Kasha Baxter from Woodfin, still connected to that guy, and with URTV, and hopefully for a very long time. I donate all my time, as do all the other producers here, putting out quality programming on a balanced perspective. We have 1/4 of our shows religious, 1/4 cultural, 1/4 First Amendment rights, and 1/4 arts. And we have had 5 audits. We have passed every audit. The reason I want you to take a deep breath is because if you can, I'd like you to let go of the smear campaign that's been all over the city and maybe question, why is public access across the country being denied its funding? When Mr. Howell spoke, he spoke about money that was being given to the school channel. That is not a certified channel. If you folks are giving money, that's our money that we're getting, that you're getting from Charter, that's supposed to be going to us because they're not certified. So there's lots of things that I could say, but mainly what I'd like to say is please go and meet with our staff. I think you'll be impressed. How many of you, just show of hands, have actually been there for a tour to see what a show is like? Thank you.
Well,
thank you. 2 people. Great.
I've been over at URTV before, but I don't.
Okay. Well, we invite you all to come, maybe even be certainly on our show, on our Veterans for Peace show, because I'm suspecting all of you would like peace in the world. So that qualifies you as being guests on our show. And but we do invite you to go and get this little TIF figured out, because you all owe us money, and I don't like to say you owe us, but I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And we'd really like to have it so we can stay open. And if you would just meet with the staff, I bet you could figure it all out, you know, and it wouldn't be such a big deal. Okay? Thank you for your time and your attention. And I want to thank everybody here who continues to come and will continue to come. And again, see us on URTV or probably back here.
Thank you, Ms. Baxter. Yes, ma'am, in the blue.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Claire Hanrahan. I'm an associate member of Veterans for Peace. They're the producers, as you know, of VFP TV. That's the Veterans Voice on URTV. And I'm here to ask you why you've withheld 90% of legally mandated funds due for support of the WNC Community Media Center. Public access to the airwaves and to the tools of production is critical to the free exchange of ideas and vital in a functioning democracy. This is about free speech, a virtual town square. Buncombe County residents and our many diverse opinions on issues that matter must have public access media to be heard over the chatter and the irrelevancy of corporate media. Since 2005, URTV and the WNC Community Media Center has facilitated and engaged citizenry. I urge you to meet with the staff and to release these funds and not further impede the vital work of these volunteer producers. And I thank you for listening. And I don't understand why the money's being withheld, but I would like to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanahan. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rachel Bliss, and I live here in downtown Asheville, or close to downtown. And I was a journalism graduate at the University of Iowa, and one of my first jobs was working over on the other side of the mountain at Holston Broadcasting. That was WKPT. Some of you may have heard of it. But I was there for 10 years, and like from 1973 over to 1983. And I'm sure that many on the board here remember pre-Reagan years when equal time was part of broadcasting. Now, as you can see when you surf the TV channels or our other media, that equal timing is not there anymore. It's not a requirement. But, you know, Asheville and Buncombe County can overcome this problem by continuing to fund URTV. URTV is the voice of the people. And we have people there from the left to the right and in between, religious, secular. And if we would lose URTV, I mean, it will be a travesty. We were talking tonight about how we're doing so well saving land in this area for our children, how we're saving animal lives for, you know, for the last 10 years. And our population, how it's increased in the last 10 years, and deaths of the animals have gone down. We have so much to be proud of here in Buncombe County. But if we let URTV go down the drain, it will be a slap in the face for democracy in our area. And, you know, I would love to see the money come through the path it always has come, but I think the money has to come regardless, because this is a richness. This is our soapbox. This is the voice of Buncombe County. And, you know, I really urge the commission to try to come up with some new ideas on how you can fund us. And I don't produce a program, but I have been a guest on the programs there. And I am terribly impressed at how they operate on such a slim budget. But you will not understand the passion these people have until you come and visit us and them. So please, please find a way to continue the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bliss. Next up, yes, sir.
My name is Jeff Turner. I live in Buncombe. I am a producer at UR Television, UR TV, and yesterday, you know, we're all trying to do what we can to save it. It's my understanding that there's direct funding available for this station from the state, and for some reason we have not got the same proportion as Channel 2, who received $222,538 against our $14,000. As a general statute dictates that, and it's no wise the same proportion on the money. I wish you'd look into that, sir. That AT&T really messed stuff up, and nobody looked out for public access is right in the process of them coming to the state and doing whatever they did. But supposedly there's more money available now for us, actually. So if y'all dig a little bit, I'm sure we could come to some answers. Anyway, at 4 o'clock yesterday, I was trying to think what else I could do that might impress upon y'all to keep it and put the money there where it's doing good. So I started a petition drive yesterday at 4 o'clock, and I ended today at 2 o'clock, and I had 2 ladies help me, and they were both down. May I present? There's just 2 copies, but it's 200 names from taxpaying citizens of Buncombe all love and enjoy our shows. They tell me that they watch 3 to 5 shows a day, per week, and some of them per day, and that they really enjoy the singing, the information, the updates on which churches are giving out the foods, and, general county citizen life, and we're appealing to the masses not only in our county and surrounding counties, but online by the millions. And it's really, you wouldn't believe it, but it's true. And I got a call the other night from my last show. It was like 2:30 in the morning, a fella from Indiana watching it on the web. And of course I was nice and I talked to him, we want him to come and visit us down here too. And so that's my bid on it. I wish in my figuring of the numbers with our information that we have, I believe you owe us $208,000. If you just write a check, I'll be out of your hair. I'm out of your hair anyway, but that's what I've figured it out to be. And y'all know me, I'm a former somebody. I'm a disabled American veteran that served here, volunteered when people was running off to Canada. So I ask you, I wouldn't be here asking, you've never seen me up here begging for nothing, but I'm... Please. My name is Jeff Turner, and I'm begging you to keep this station open, and the fund is there for you to do it with, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. We'll make the petition part of our record. Thank you.
I salute you all. Sheriff?
Yes, sir. Okay, yes, ma'am. I believe your name's Lisa.
Hole there. Landed tonight. So this is also a petition, and then the petition that I am circulating is online. It's available at thepetitionsite.com, which is the most famous petition site. And I hope you can, if you want to check it out, but I'm going to read it for you now. And it's regarding misappropriation of PEG funds in Buncombe County. The Western North Carolina Community Media Center is provided for legally and financially through PEG, public, educational, and government funds, so that the public always has a voice on at least one television channel for education and one for government. The funds for these special channels is to be distributed evenly, as detailed in the statute 105 to 164.441, proportional. As it currently stands, the WNC Community Media Center cannot operate on the absurdly small amount of about $4,300 per quarter, or more than $13,000 per year, when the real budget is well over $100,000 to run this community media center. As I mentioned before, Santa Barbara gets about $632,000, but we do well. The funding is available and legally required to be provided to the WNC CMC, but is not being paid by Buncombe County. The funds are there, but being used elsewhere to run the county channel on $222,000. Quite sophisticated, beautiful cameras. We've got great equipment here for the county. That's a lot of money. $222,000 to run the government channel, $12,000 to $14,000 for the whole year to run the local people's channel, the people who elect the government officials. In this petition, we, the people of Buncombe County, including producers at the Media Center, nonprofit organizations, churches, and everyday people, ask you, the Buncombe County Commissioners, to pay the amount as required by law, now well over $100,000, and that if this is not done, that our State Representative Heath Schuler begin a state investigation on what is being done with these funds and why. Consultants have been wrong before, and I would urge the Commissioners, as our earlier speaker said, please meet with this staff. They're creating so much with so little. It's a miracle it is still even going, and yet we're still #1 in the state and providing a wonderful service. So please, honor your public service commitment by paying what is legally due. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the back.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for the time. Pete Blackshaw, Asheville. Been up here a couple of times before. No dramatics, just appreciate your time. Just wanted to focus on something.
Get your name, where you're from.
Pete Blackshaw with Asheville. I thought
Thank you. Thank you.
Wanted to reiterate something that Lisa said, and it was something that I believe the consultant has missed. And I would, ask and put in a request, at least on the legal side, from a contractual law perspective, that you look into it. Again, we're not attorneys. However, there is this particular clause that Lisa was referencing that I would respectfully ask for you to look into, and I'll read it verbatim. It says, "These funds," meaning the funds that's collected from the sales tax, "may be used for general purposes, with one exception. A city or county that imposed subscriber fees in fiscal year 2006, 2007 for the operation and support of PEG channels must use the video programming funds distributed to it for support for PEG channels in the same proportion as the subscriber fees were of total franchise and tax and subscriber revenue during the first 6 months of the 2006-2007 fiscal year." So the way that I understand it is that if URTV was in place in 06 and 07, and they're currently in place today, that yes, the county can use those funds for anything they want, except if that same contract provider was in place in 06 and 07, that currently they need to provide them at the same rate. Now, that's something that the consultant did not talk about, didn't mention, and did not bring up. So, you know, it's there, you know, and unless I'm reading it wrong, unless everybody else is reading it wrong, there's only one of two options. Either the county's moving towards something that the consultant missed and would open themselves up to some sort of liability, I don't know, or we're misinterpreting it. You know, producers and others are misinterpreting what the intent of that law is. So it's a legal issue, but it's in the North Carolina Department of Revenue distribution formula for the PEG funds. So I don't know, is that something that I could get an answer back, or somebody can look into that?
I'll be glad
or
to have Mr. Frew, if he'll contact you. If you'll leave your address and name, he'll be glad
Okay.
to
I mean,
talk
I
with
would,
you.
I would just add to that, maybe you could write us all a memo that, you know, whatever your findings are, you know, there, I mean,
if it, you
something
know,
can always happen. But so anyway, I'd like to be included.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody would.
I
on that
understand
part.
counties go by advice and advisors and consultants and so forth, but it looks like a big miss. The other item,
You can go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the other item that he missed was the consultant talked about the declining revenues with Charter Cable. Well, all of us found out here recently this past week that AT&T is carrying the shows. So all of the shows that we produce are also carried on AT&T. And AT&T is growing, and so that's generating sales tax revenue as well. So yes, Charter may be declining in membership, but AT&T runs it on channel 99.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if you'll leave your address again, we'll get a memo. Yes, ma'am, in front.
Good evening. I'm Dale Joyner, and I'm on the board of URTV. And Commissioner Gant, you are a lawyer, and I would plead for you to get down to the bottom of this. It is said that we are supposed to receive equal amount as Channel 2. They receive $200 and some odd thousand. We only receive $14,000. You as a lawyer, sir, and as an elected official that I voted for, as a citizen, I would like for you to please get to the bottom of this. We have been getting press that is a lie, and we are just under scrutiny. But the public and the people in the street who know me from my Bible study that I teach on URTV, and also from my community program that I teach on URTV, are coming and asking, what is it that the commissioners are missing? You are an elected official, and you are a lawyer. And I would ask you to please sort this out.
Well, we will make the memo available. I think Commissioner Jones' suggestion is good. We did get different advice, and we had a rather long hearing the last meeting about this. But we want to do the right thing. We want to make sure we have it, and we don't miss anything. So I'm taking notes, and Mr. Frew is going to do a memo and prepare something. Thank you, Dale.
Okay, and I would like to submit also to you the budget as well.
Okay, we'll make that part of your remarks also. Thank you, Ms. Joyner.
I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. In the black back there. Lady in black.
Hello, my name is Shirley Dozier. I live on Montford Avenue, where I've resided since 1961. I came 2 weeks ago and spoke of some stuff, and I'm sure that's going to be handled promptly. And April the 15th, I went back into my I went onto the street to take some pictures of my backyard, which I have not been able to enter since last year. The grass has grown up. The police has been called on me. The man, his name is Jim and Roxanne Seaman, said they were going to have me arrested if I come back there again. This is my backyard that I've owned since 1967. Okay. And then another thing is a lot that we have put up bids for. It was a tax lot.
Mm-hmm.
We put up bids for in 1997, and they have not ever closed on it yet. But I have had, they've threatened me, they've intimidated me. Now this is Martha McGlow, Ed Vest in the city of Asheville. I've hired 2 attorneys to go up there. They seem to, the more you hire the attorneys, the more violent they become with me, you know, and the lawyer, I was talking about a lawsuit I was in about a lot on Short Street. The lawyer has threatened me to, I'm sorry, my time
No,
up?
ma'am. No, ma'am. I just want to make sure I get, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it's down in writing and everything, so, you know, don't try to remember everything because I just barely can remember it myself. And so I'd like to have you, let's get this lot on track 3 ahead of Montfort. Let's try to get this closed out as soon as possible. And please do some other, because he said the city had asked him the next time I went down there to mow the lawn to come and have me arrested. I've been taking care of that land since I put the bid up, but I was taking care of it 40 years before I put the bid up. It was a housing authority in the city of Asheville's lot. They never took care of, so my family and I took care of it all those years. And let's see if we can close on some of this and get some of this straightened out.
Ms. Duss here, I think that would be a city matter. We wouldn't have any jurisdiction, but we will get with the city manager, I think Mandy and maybe Jeff Richardson and Mr. Jackson with the city. We'll contact them if you'll leave any papers you want us to give to them. With Mr. Frew, we'll make sure it gets to the city officials who can deal with this. And we thank you for bringing it to us. I'm sorry we don't have jurisdiction over it. Yes, sir, in the back.
I'm David King from Candler. Mr. Chairman, board members, I would like to address the divisioning of county commissioners. Chairman Gant, I appreciate you going on Matt Matan the other day. I listened to the entire program, and I do appreciate it. I mean, it was very informative. It helped me understand your position. One of your main concerns was that we would lose our vote to vote for all commissioners. And I thought about that, and I gave that consideration. And you're concerned about partisanship. And yes, there's always partisanship, but I've tried to step back from that and think about this in terms of why we as individuals want, whether we're Republicans, and I've talked to Democrats, Republicans, Independents about this issue. The concern is less about politics as it is about protecting county residents. We want to have more control over our commissioners. We want commissioners from our sectors that we can go to and say, we want you to fight tooth and nail against the city of Asheville. This lady gave me a great segue to come up here. That is not what we want in Candler. We don't want the city of Asheville out there, just as West Buncombe does not want Woodfin in their backyard. We want to have that control over what goes on. I don't care if it's a Democrat, I don't care if it's a Republican, but we want people that will not be in simpatico with the city of Asheville or Woodfin or quote what the League of Municipalities has to say or any other of these. That's why we've got Tim Moffitt in Raleigh now. It's not Republicans that put him there. It's Democrats, it's independents, it's Republicans. We want change, we want control, and we want to not be looked at as a treasure chest for these municipalities. You know, they like to say, We need this to grow. Well, following that logic, I would like to ask you to annex part of Henderson County, because why doesn't the county die if they don't grow? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am, in the front.
My name is Janet Rogers. I'm from Barnardsville. It's kind of unfortunate that the people from the Animal Coalition are not here to comment on my statement today. For the past 8 months, day and night, I have been plagued by the barking of multiple dogs that are tethered onto the property next door to me. These dogs are chained continually, day and night, 24/7. Since August, I've been unable to sleep in my own bed, sleep through the night without earplugs, entertain guests in my house, work in my yard, or even step outside onto my patio without being assailed by barking, howling, yelping, baying, bellowing. It's akin to having a kennel next door, but without any of the protections or standards required of a licensed facility. And most egregious to me is the fact that these dog owners have 5 acres in which to house these dogs, yet choose to locate them in the closest possible proximity to my house. Excuse me. I'm also profoundly disappointed with Animal Control's process as outlined in their bark control packet. I don't know if you're familiar with that flow chart that they have. It seems to me that it's been a spectacular failure when 8 months later I'm still living under these conditions. As well, I want to address the district attorney. According to their website, it's their job to protect victims and their rights in the pursuit of justice. They've been less than rigorous on my half. I've been to court 4 times now on this matter, and the defendants have been granted a continuance 4 times. My 5th court date is in May. I can't think of too many other scenarios where a crime victim continues to be victimized while waiting due process. I'm retired, my mortgage is paid, my entire life's work is invested in a house that I can't live in and can't sell. I know I'm only one person, but I can't believe that other people aren't in this situation as well. My domestic life has been degraded by anxiety and fatigue. The situation has consumed a great deal of my energy and resources and had a profound impact on my relationship with my family and friends. Besides the obvious, blatant violation of the ordinances prohibiting tethering as well as noise, it's really unbearable to look out my window every day and see the neglect and lack of compassion with which these animals are treated. Thank you.
Ms. Rogers, I'll have Mr. Frew can be in touch with Mr. Moore. That's probably your best remedy, I think, but maybe if you could get with the sheriff also, and I know that's something they try to enforce, and it's a tough one.
Sheriff Duncan has been most sympathetic. I've talked to him many times.
Okay.
He tells me dogs are bred to bark. He doesn't tell me why ordinances are not enforced.
Well, we heard you, and we'll ask our county attorney to help you get a remedy there. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Any other comments? Yes, sir. Red shirt in front.
Well, I'm Jeffrey DeCristofaro. I'm an intern at URTV. I have my own radio show and have also helped as a technical assistant on several live TV shows. But I've also was before that a mass communications minor at UNC Asheville. And I was there from the beginning when URTV was getting started. And, well, the truth is that there are a lot of students, not only at UNC Asheville, but also at Asheville Buncombe Technical Institute and Western Carolina University, who are having a hard time finding a position in media, in journalism. I happen to meet a few people some during Hatchfest, others during the Asheville Film Festival, who are looking for professional positions or internships, and that was what URTV provided me with. It wasn't a professional position, but it was an internship, and one which allowed me to develop skills as an independent artist for radio and television. And I'm hoping to use this, put this to greater use in the future. But I also want you to know that if it hadn't been for URTV, I wouldn't be able to refine my skills. I wouldn't be able to help them, the people who have gathered here, with their stuff, either by being on the shows or by assisting off screen. And to deny the funding that URTV needs would also mean to halt the progress of many students who are skilled in this field. That, to me, is really heartbreaking, and I hope that such a loss does not occur. Or if the loss does occur, it will not be on such a vast scale, which is equivalent to that of the local counties who are currently denying public access. I hope that there is some, that even if you cannot remedy the situation, that you will raise awareness about it so that those who are in charge will be able to remedy the situation, if not in great haste, then eventually, gradually, and with total effectiveness, so that we do not lose our beloved channel, our beloved network, and that we will give students, a new generation here in Western North Carolina or just within Asheville, to hone in their skills, to refine their skills, and to bring us the very best in the media and entertainment as time goes by. Thank you for taking the time and effort to listen to this. There's nothing more I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. DeCristofaro. Any other public? Yes, ma'am, in the front.
I guess you can tell I'm with URTV. And welcome back, Mr. Gant. I'm glad you're back for this meeting. We are all volunteers.
If you can get your name and where you're from, I'm sorry. So the record.
Connie Staley, but I go by Shannon. We are all volunteers. We volunteer our time. We pay for our own gas. We pay for our own phones, and we pay for our own internet to help the station individually when we're at home, because our volunteer doesn't stop when we leave the station. We're volunteering to the citizens of Buncombe County. And because we live stream, we get other counties involved too. That's very important to us. We are URTV. You are URTV. All the citizens of Buncombe County are URTV. That's why it is so heartbreaking to think that we are giving such a service that might be taken away from us. We have a contract with the county, and we have been in complete compliance on our end. So it is very mind-boggling to why we're not getting the monies that are owed to us. I know we keep talking about this, and we've been talking about this for a long time, but I got to tell you, commissioners, we're running out of time and we're running out of money. It's nice to say that you guys are going to get back to us, but you're really not getting back to us with the answers that we need. We can't keep going like this. We can't keep our doors open. So we are all stressed. Let me tell you, we got producers that are just so stressed, because imagine being a volunteer, giving your time, doing this all on your own to help the citizens, and you're going through the stress on top of it. It's really hard, and we really are holding up our end. We really are doing everything that we can. So we are really, really begging you to speed this up on whatever decision you've made, so we know what we need to do, because we just can't keep going like this. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Staley. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
My name's David Ireland. I'm from downtown Asheville. During the last meeting, I submitted a question, and that was, since Raleigh seems to be withholding funds, how come Buncombe County is the only county defunding the public access channel? Submitted that in writing to Ms. Green. Week and a half later, I did get a manila envelope. It had John Howell's report in it, which didn't answer my question. It also had the rules for conducting a meeting in Buncombe County. So I did go out and do some heavy lifting. I called the public access channels of North Carolina, and it seems like Greensboro, North Carolina, after the law changed, no more cable franchise fees. There are now video programming taxes. Greensboro is still receiving the same amount of funding. They always have. Greenville, North Carolina, their public access channel, has seen an increase in funds after the law changed. Also, Charlotte-Mecklenburg, funding has also increased for that public access channel. So I submit the question again, why is Buncombe County the only county defunding their public access channel? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ireland. Yes, sir. Bob.
Welcome back, David.
Glad to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here tonight. My name is Bob Horn. I live out in beautiful Leicester. And I'm here tonight to speak, since I'm Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Western North Carolina Community Media Center. I have a press release that was released here during the meeting. And basically, it's from our chairman, Jerry Young. It says the Western North Carolina Community Media Center will not be closing its doors at this time as originally announced. The board of the Western North Carolina Community Media Center is looking at legal and financial obligations and responsibilities of due process. Due to monies owed, the Western North Carolina Community Media Center and the fiscal responsibility or culpability by contract with Buncombe County Board of Commissioners, the Western North Carolina Community Center requests that bills and funds be paid. And the last comment I have is this commission is still in a position to immediately release the PEG monies already owed to the Western North Carolina Community Media Center, or in the past known as URTV, to avoid legal action presently planned on the part of all aggrieved parties by agreement before the close of this session and delivered by 10 a.m. Wednesday. So that's where we stand. We're moving into a legal position, and we'll do what we have to do to survive. But we are officially not closed. We're going to continue.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Warren. Next up. Yes, sir, in the green shirt.
I see tape switching. I'll give you. Okay. Hey. My name is Matt Howard. I reside in Asheville, and I am a city-appointed member of the URTV Board of Directors. Admittedly, it's been a little bit hard for me to stay on message, so I'm just going to say what I feel like saying right now. Okay, this town has had easily $10 million going to a museum that didn't happen. About $1 million was spent on signs that were peeling within a month, and there was a huge overrun on a city park. And I am not pointing any fingers. My only point is that URTV has managed to, with less, do more than any other public access facility in this state. But somehow it is more scandalous to certain people the way that its management and finances go than so many other things in this town. URTV has been audited by the county, URTV has been audited by the city, URTV has been audited multiple occasions by independent third party according to its own contract. I have a copy of one of the most recent audits in my hand right now. So there we go. I think the amount of bad publicity that URTV has gotten is just frankly a little bit absurd. And there's so much misinformation out there. I mean, I'm just going to throw out a few examples, like the fact that somehow it reflects negatively on URTV management that a 50% original programming was not met by a certain deadline. The board and the staff are not responsible for programming. I know Bob has one of his own shows, and that's his one show. We do not in any way direct programming. The fact that the 50% mark was not met, just it happens that way. I mean, there are things like that. I could throw out more examples. We could actually do this all day, but I just want to throw out one other small thing that people regularly talk about. They make a big deal out of Peter Bresney and his report and the dire predictions that came about it all the way back in 2007. According to this report, June 2008 was when the money was supposed to run out due to URTV. Somehow we are still here. So even though admittedly URTV is not always really good at its own PR, I do believe from a logistical perspective something is being done right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am. And then Milton, we'll do you next.
Greetings and blessings to you, each one. My name is Deborah Lee. Deborah Lee Williams. I reside in Black Mountain. And one thing I want to say, I have a little prepared statement, but one thing I want to say before that is it's been insinuated quite a bit that URTV is financially irresponsible or something. But if you'll check at the website, for the last 5 years, it has come in under budget every year. So that's not financially irresponsible, you know. Another thing I want to say real quick is that whoever this first paragraph doesn't apply to is, of course, accepted. As an American citizen, I'm sorry to say that it appears to me that the American government, from the highest political office in the land to the lowest, has been thoroughly corrupted by the big monies of the big corporations. Across America, as we speak, the citizens of this country are losing their vital towns, I'm nervous, their virtual town square. Public access TV across America is being defunded by local governments. The airwaves supposedly belong to the American citizens, yet it would cost any one of us millions of dollars to have the access to these airwaves. We would have to pay the big corporations these dollars, while they pay very small fees to make billions of dollars, of which they not only don't pay taxes, they actually get huge tax rebates from the sweat of our brows. America is busy making war on the world and her own citizens. Thanks. We Americans are not going to give up on striving to live up to the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for each citizen. We producers and the great staff of URTV will not give up and give in to this effort by this local government to kill our own local town square, public access TV. Congress gave this to the American people, and we will not let it be stolen from us. And the theory that Americans now have now have YouTube, and therefore don't need local public access, this is insulting in the extreme. Blessings.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And Milton?
I am Dr. Milton Bird. I am a Buncombe County resident. What I passed right there is the last audit that I am aware of from the Media Center, and I have been trying to do my homework looking at this information thoroughly, including back audits, and they've all appeared to be quite excellent in their model and statements. I have a question. Before I ask a question there, I want to read something I've got on my computer because I've been doing some legal discussions with some appropriate people, and being that I am one of a group of 60 plus independent producers at URTV, providing content to the public and utilizing certified public access station URTV, please provide me with the name and address of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners agent of service, name and address, please. Can you do that?
You can serve anything on our attorney, I believe. Is that right, Mr.
You would be the agent of service.
No, sir.
Nope.
I can talk to you after.
Okay.
Thank you as
We'll be
well.
glad to help you
And
with
also, I'd like to get the name of the insurance carrier for errors and omissions. We'll discuss that later. Thank you. having been a civic leader as long as I've been, and hearing the turmoil, words that have been thrown all around in the emotional distress of this entire situation. There's been accusations, there's been issues of discussion in regards to culpability, conspiratorial issues, biased. I want to see it stop because I'm looking for problem solving here. And I think the only way that all these parties involved will get solution is to request from all parties to the North Carolina Department of Revenue a state audit on the full situation, as well as the state district attorney to look in the review of the situation so we can put it all in balance and move forward. It's time to get it solved. No more of this bantering about back and forth. It doesn't solve and it doesn't do our community well. We need healing on this issue, and I have watched this organization, URTV, and I'm very impressed with them. I got to be straightforward. I've sat in that role and as a civic leader for almost 30 years. And I have looked at audits, I have looked at reports, and I've seen the examples here all along. And right now, I got to tell you, I really believe in these URTV people. And I'm doing that also as an independent producer trying to learn this because I know how important freedom of speech is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Byrd. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir.
Commissioner, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
URTV.
You go ahead, just for the record, your name and address.
What? Oh. Chris Oaks, Swano.
Thank you, Chris.
URTV is a great way for local churches in the area to share the gospel of Christ to a lost and dying world. Shows like Greater Works, Be Healed in Jesus' Name, which is a call-in prayer line, Miss Whitmire's show, Dale Joyner's show. I've learned a lot from her show. She has a great Bible study. Jeff Turner's variety show. That's a great one. Jeff's dad gives Bible studies at times there. Through URTV, local churches can share the gospel of Christ and afford to do so. Sharing the gospel of Christ is the most important thing. That's why Jesus said before he left, went back to heaven, Acts 1:8. You shall receive power, and you shall be my witnesses. Also, I love the E-Teen show, which is not a religion, which is for educational purposes only. The Glow Lady show, I love that one. All the producers of URTV and staff do a great job of producing quality shows. And URTV is great affordable for young churches, preachers, or anybody that wants to get the word out about what they believe in and get started. And one thing, I remember last meeting had here, what really pricked my heart personally was the Glow Lady. When she came up here weeping, that really proved to me how much her heart is into this. And I appreciate her standing up and being true for what she believes in.
Thank you, Mr. Oaks. Anybody else?
My name is Lisa Landis, and yes, I am Glow Lady. And I said that I wasn't going to cry today, and it's like, dang it, last week it was Jonathan, and this week, Chris, thank you. I really appreciate it because, yes, I am very emotional about this, but not just that. It's like, dang it, it's the law, people. It's the frickin' law. I don't know who's not doing what contract right, but, you know, according to this management agreement, well, if we go down to Section 12, the indemnification, now this was signed by Wanda Green and Kathy Hughes. Guess what? We can and we will sue you. You know, I mean, you've cost me a lot. This crap of, oh,
now,
well, we don't.
Let's just take a deep breath. You know, we're going to not have personal attacks.
Okay, I'm going to
here.
keep an eye on this, and I'm not going to make personal attacks.
No, you've lost your time. I told you up front, no personal attacks, ma'am.
Okay.
You can continue, but just calm down and let's talk about the issue.
So did I just leave?
Yeah, you did. Go ahead.
Thank you. Let me go back to the beginning then, since we're going to go it that way. When I first came here tonight, we talked about the awards, how excited we were about all these awards that we're getting here. Yet you continue to deny the fact that URTV is the best in the state and is a model for other public access stations throughout the United States. Where is our leadership? You know, Asheville is leading in what we're doing. Do you know that we are also getting the Southeast Conference coming here for public access? What are they going to think when they get here if public access is closed? You know, we are looking at you. You know, you talk about the child abuse. I did 2 child abuse shows. You know, it's like, I love that facility in there. That has more equipment than we have for Studio B over where we are. Yeah, we've been pulling our weight. We've been standing out at Vance Monument, and we've been doing interviews of people, educating them on URTV. The only thing that people are hearing, if they hear anything about URTV, it has been negative. Dr. Milton Bird and I are going down to the Charlotte station, down to Mecklenburg. We're going to be down there on April 30th, and we're going to be filming at least 2, if not 3 shows. That's how I got my start. Down there, I came up from Florida to do an interview. What have I done? Oh, wait a minute. The PowerPoints, that was kind of biased, don't you think? We weren't allowed to submit our PowerPoints for last presentation because it wasn't in by Tuesday, but today, oh, that was okay. You know, it's like, where is the prejudice? There was a girl that was in here, she wasn't for any of us, you know, and she stood up here and said, hey, you know, you guys are really prejudiced, and she was shut up. URTV, I get more than 3 minutes to cram, to put out there. It's like, I designed clothing, I invented glow-in-the-dark clothing, I invented glow-in-the-dark safety products, I was in corporate, and then I became a psychic medium. I'll tell you what, the guilty person did pick up the skull. Here's the...
Can you have the public comment tonight?
Yes, there's... You're getting up, right?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Hello again. I'm Mark Staley. I live in Asheville, and I am the vice president of a 501c3 faith-based nonprofit. And we have our meeting tonight, and normally I could be there, but I couldn't because I have to come down here and talk to all of you again. So I'm hoping that one of the other officers can fill in for me, perhaps the president. Pretty much everything else I wanted to say was said by others, so kind of pretty much covered, and some of them were quite elegant. But I guess the main thing, I guess I might as well hit on is a couple things. Is one, the negative media, certain 3 newspapers, I won't name them, but I don't need to mention their names. On that last meeting, we pointed out how this was the law. According to the state law, you're supposed to give us that money. None of them pointed that out on that thing. And 2 different producers of us pointed it out. So that's obvious bias on their part. And so those 3, I don't want to throw the whole newspapers under the bus. You're not going to throw the whole company under the bus because of one bad employee. But I think what people need to do is come to the station, and you can see everything is, we are the best in the state. And, I mean, that is just, to me, that is proof that is biased media. How can you not mention the fact that it was pointed out? And then one of them mentioned it later, but he's got to make sure to bring up some cappuccino machine thing from 2 years ago. So I mean, it's like they're on this mission to character assassinate it. And if I may say, when it comes to, you know, you've got 2 different stories here. You and the public have 2 different stories. You have this 3 local newspapers, the side of the story, then you have our side of the story. They're pretty different, so they can't both be right. One of us has to be lying. So it comes down to a question of who would you think is more likely to be telling you the truth? Volunteers or people who get paid to write what they write? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. Any other public comment? I'll just say this, I think I can speak for the board. I don't think we're into this negative one way or the other. We're going to follow the law, we're going to follow our contract. We apparently have a different interpretation, and we will have our attorney deal with that, and we're going to follow the law to our best that we know how.
I'm sorry.
And that's all.
I forgot
We've already
to-
had public comment. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to respond because I know y'all are concerned. We feel it, we see it, and we will do everything within our power to comply with the law. Okay. This isn't a poll. This is public comment. Does anyone else have public comment? I'll be glad to talk with you after we're through. Any okay. If there is, I guess we're through, unless anyone has some public
Move we
comment.
go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Peterson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? And I will be glad to talk with any of you if you want to email me or set up an appointment. Thank you. I didn't say
Between one. I happen to live in Burnsville. My signal is very iffy. That's what I'm always finding my